Hello, welcome to Plat Chat VALORANT episode 67. Avast drinking out of a red solo cup in his new offices at the Florida Mayhem.
Yeah.
Are you playing beer pong down there in the basement, are you?
I mean, look at that room. I mean, you would think he's moving up in the world, given that he's gotten his own office, new job. But actually, he's moving down because they put him in the fucking basement. That's where his new office is located.
No, actually, I can turn the camera and you can see there's a door right there.
Wow. What is
a mirror door?
obscuring the door? What is, wait.
Obscuring the door.
Oh, it's a mirror door?
It's a mirror
No,
door.
it's glass.
Oh.
No, it's not a mirror door. It's glass. It's just see-through.
Right.
Oh, it's
That's
see-through.
Right.
It's so that it's so you can't get up to shit.
You would see.
Yeah, they want to
him,
make sure
but-
that I'm not getting too crunk in here with my red solo cup.
right.
Sure.
Yeah, Ben Spooner's got to check in on the employees every now and then and just make sure you're not up to no good. Well, that's
Yep.
good. That's good. You've got corporate oversight. I know a few companies that don't have that, but that's for the other Plat Chat. So, well, I mean, maybe for this one as well.
What company are you referring to?
Maybe for this one as well. We got some big news this week. There's been a lot of roster moves. There's been a lot of roster reporting. There's a new agent in the game. We're heading into Champions. Shit's kind of popping off.
Yeah.
It's kind of popping off.
Yeah, you're right. A lot of things to talk about. New patch. I was excited because I thought that they were making it so that you could play with 3 or 4 stacks at Diamond 3+, but they're not doing that. It's just 5 stack or still duo, which is unfortunate.
You don't think that's good?
Well,
you don't like
it's
5
cool.
stacking?
No, I like 5, and 2 is fine, but I think 3 is the ideal number.
Okay.
All right.
I do. What?
Okay, so
this is no laughing matter. I
this
know
is-
comedy comes in 3s, but this is no fucking laughing matter. I think you should be able to 3 stack.
Really? Okay. Yeah. I mean, they could add it into the game, but part of them adding 5 stacking back in.
Putting my foot down.
Well, you have no power.
This is where I take a hard stance.
You can't do anything.
What do you, I'm going to use my platform for change, Josh.
Oh, really? Okay. I'm glad this is the hill you
I refuse. Matter of fact, I'm not talking about Valorant the rest of this episode until they add that.
All right, well, let's move on.
Well, there we go.
Let's talk just the 3 of us about
best episode ever.
Let's have our own trio.
Patch 3.10. So the first thing to discuss is the fact that you're allowed to 5 stack. So anybody in the game can currently 5 stack with anybody else. It doesn't matter if you're Radiant, you can stack with an Iron player if you want. But you need a 5 stack, and you will only match against 5 stacks. And as we found out earlier, you'll get 20-minute queues and win 4 ranked ratings. So is it worth it? Maybe.
You won 4?
No, we lost, but we lost 4 rank rating.
Oh, wow. That is minuscule, but kind of nice in a way.
Yeah, I mean, it stops boosting, right? That's their intention, I think, is so that 4 Radiant players can't just play with 1 Iron and boost them all the way up to Immortal. They could, but it would be such horrible unpaid labor that I mean, there'd be the amount of money it would take to boost people that way would be counterproductive. An Iron player would have to pay for so many hours of that. Anyway, they also fixed this 128 FPS bug that Bren was screaming about for months, or not months, but weeks while this patch was out.
This
Apparently,
was like last week that somebody discovered this.
but Bren has been playing a lot in this patch, and he kept sticking the spike to over halfway, and then when he got off it, it was not stuck to halfway because the 128 FPS bug that was in the game was sending your packet updates less frequently, and so it wasn't updating, I guess, when he got on the spike or when he had got over halfway, something like that. And so it, there's a weird.
Is it possible? Is it possible that that's a Bren-related issue?
Yes.
No, because there was a clip where I saw with my eyeballs that it got past halfway. Can you find it anywhere?
I saw multiple clips from it.
That doesn't mean that it's that.
No, it doesn't mean that it's that. I mean, what are you? There's a second bug in the game, Balla?
Yeah, probably. I mean, there's plenty of bugs in the game.
There's a bug with Bren.
Look at this. Look at this.
Problem.
This is Bren. Gets it over halfway. Goes back on it.
Wait.
Okay, look at it. That's over halfway. The spike.
I think we need to enhance, please.
Okay,
no,
can we
over halfway?
Can we enhance? Can we slow down? Can we zoom in and slow down for Balla? Because he's old and his eyes don't work anymore.
I don't care. I don't care.
No,
he does.
No, you've asked for it. Give it to him.
You've asked for it? Now you must give it to him.
Whoa.
Zoom.
Wow.
Enhance. What does the gamer face look like from Bren? Goes for the stick. 1v1.
He's looking very resolute.
Hold 4 to
Easily.
defuse.
I mean, this is... Look at the technology we have available right now.
Okay, are you
This is
ready?
like an episode of NCIS.
It's halfway to halfway right now.
Zoom in and enhance.
Does it
Waiting?
go over the line? It clearly goes over the line.
It does cross the line.
Definitely. And that's not the only time that's happened to him. I've seen him post like 3 different clips. Now he could just have like some sort of network switch that
No
timing.
way.
The timing. Sorry, you
That
just said
is.
you were
I
making
mean,
a,
I mean, you couldn't have scripted that.
you were talking about internet issues and you said he could have a network switch. and you just froze.
Shit. It's because I'm on Wi-Fi and I haven't set up the Ethernet. I haven't plugged in Ethernet here yet.
I mean-
I'm on Wi-Fi again.
It was perfect.
I'm not even laughing because I think that's just
It illustrated your point
That was
perfectly.
too unbelievable.
Yeah.
I need to find a cable and hook up Ethernet soon. I haven't done it yet. I just set this up today.
You can tell. I mean, you have boxes in the back of your office.
Yeah. What else is in this patch then? Scroll us down the patch.
New agent.
Oh, new agent? No way.
Yep, there he is.
Chamber. What's his name?
Look at his vest.
Chamber.
What's his
Chamber.
real name?
Daddy.
Oh my god! I mean, the horny levels are out of control.
Can we like restart?
Isn't it like?
Yeah.
I
Can we
don't know.
restart the episode? What is that, Connor? Come on.
That I didn't even. I think someone else. I think like the Valorant Twitter account posted that or something. No joke.
What?
Did they really?
There's no way the Valorant Twitter account posted that.
I
What-
swear to God.
They
What do you
called
guys think his
Chamber
name
Daddy.
is? He has an actual name.
He does have a real name.
I mean,
says
I think
Kurt.
you're looking at the wrong accounts there, Connor.
I don't know what his real name is.
Take a guess.
I mean, I'm
Probably
sure
like
there's some Valorant accounts
Francois.
posting that, but
He's French and
Yeah,
he looks
maybe
kind
like,
of dapper.
maybe it's Dave.
Francois Jaffe.
What about Jacob?
His name's Vincent Fabron.
Oh. Okay.
Speculated.
So good.
Speculated.
Oh, speculated.
Speculated.
Because he's a secret agent, so you
Yeah.
don't really know what his name is. So, yeah. Okay. Have you guys played Chamber?
I have not
No,
yet.
but you know what's interesting? While I was eating lunch, I saw that you did. And I thought it would be a good idea to maybe show a clip
No.
from you playing Chamber
No, that's not a good idea.
in a stack with Balla. Do you have that clip, Kurt? Okay, Kurt has the clip.
I didn't do anything good on Chamber, so this
no,
can't
you
be
were
a
you
good
were doing
clip.
some good TPs. I saw. You were using the TP effectively. The TP is very fast.
Don't you also hear the TV?
The very first clip I
Would you
sent
like
you,
me to
Kurt.
show the full context or just the clip?
I mean, you could just show the clip, but the context is within it, I think.
All right.
It's a
the clip is
clutch
fine.
situation.
I know exactly what's
I
happening.
don't know which clip this is because
It's a clutch situation.
No.
2v1.
Okay, so I put down my teleporter and I put one
Right.
behind me as well. This is going to allow me to post up aggressively, play close, and then teleport away.
Backs away to the safe
I
angle.
reload my
Yep.
classic and then swap to the Marshal.
Now that's Balla. And he's unfortunately about to go down. And he now calls that
Balla feeds.
the Brimstone is only 1 HP.
That
Surely
was
you
a
get,
bad play.
surely you get this kill, right?
Yeah, of course, because I could just shoot the Marshal, wait for him to tap, and swing and right click.
Or
Oh my God!
If I had had any bullets in my classic, that would have worked.
Yeah,
All right,
I
that
think
would
it
have worked.
But still, the pull-out time when you TP is so long. No matter, it's not a jet dash by any
God.
means.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
I mean, I will say he felt like a lot of fun to play.
it
The-
looks like a lot of fun. I haven't played him yet, but I've been looking forward to it all week.
The teleport is a lot of fun to use. It's
Yeah.
very intuitive. I also thought it would be single deploy in a round. I didn't realize how quick you'd be able to redeploy it. You can pull up both sides of the teleport. I think they're called anchors.
Yeah.
So you can pull up both anchors and you can lay them down, I think, 20 seconds later. And once you use a teleport to go from one direction to another, there is a cooldown for you to teleport back the other way. But I think it's
15
something.
to 20 seconds.
Yeah, it's not that long. So it can get some usage. It felt
Yeah.
good playing him even on attack. I didn't get any kills,
Yeah.
but that was because I was overheating. My brain couldn't handle what I was doing.
So one of the things about using that idea of like the cooldown or whatever is if you're TPing away, right? So most of the time they're going to be able to get on site and break it. So you can't really use it to read,
Sure.
take it or whatever. there's really good flank opportunities on attack with it, and obviously you can aggressively peek. So that thing is massive, or like really, really valuable. I think one of the problems I had is that there's bugs with him right now. The visual clarity on his shooting is really weird. Like
that's why I was missing.
Yeah, 100%. Well, actually, no, genuinely, it does mess it up. I was messing around in the range and in customs and stuff like that. It looks like the op and the deagle go straight on, but they don't. They have spread. They have a bunch of other stuff as well. So, well, actually, the op was just like looked like it was straight going through people's bodies. It was really weird. So that's the one thing I'm like, this doesn't feel polished.
So there's an audio cue with this TP, right? They know you take the teleporter.
Yeah, they know you've taken the teleporter.
Alien screeching like.
It's also, though, it's a very fast teleport. I believe someone in my chat was saying it takes 4 frames, which is the same as a Reyna dismiss. So from you pressing the button to you not being there anymore, which is pretty much the same as Reyna because she has iframes, right? Is 4 frames. So unlike a jet dash where it's very quick, but you can be targeted the entire time while you're dashing, it's 4 frames and then instantly you're just gone. So it feels very good to try and disengage. There, I'm just being a papige, but also because you don't need line of sight to your anchor, what I was trying to do in that round is to use it a bit like a jet dash on attack. So I put one in a safe location, I pushed forwards, put another one in octagon, and I'm going to try and push forwards, take a duel, and if I feel like I'm losing it, I'll just teleport away as my team rotates to A. People that are good with the agent, I think, are going to be able to get huge value out of this. Also, this was me just messing around trying to take like an early aggressive peek here and then dash away, which I did, and then I forgot that other people could be behind the jet, and I died. So, but there's ideas that I was trying to test out playing here that felt very easy to get good value out of him. I was just trying to push it way too far, and this was my first time playing, and I had no idea what I was doing. But you can tell there's potential there for the pros to get their hands on it and do something really cool.
Yeah. Is there anything else in the patch before we dive deeper into chamber
features and stuff?
And anything else important?
Some esports features.
Oh, there was an esports feature that I saw people were excited about and observing one. The observers now have different HUD colors for attackers and defenders. I saw some people getting excited about some of these little observer changes.
It should be massive. I'm assuming that's talking about like the border at the bottom of the screen, right?
Right.
So that's always been green, and so you never know, except for like other context clues, what side the person is on.
That's
so they
good.
tried last patch. They made it so that you had everybody could like access the Brazilian like way where it's left hand models for the left side team and right hand. But that I don't like that.
That throws a lot of people off. Yeah, I think it's a cool idea, but it's
a little confusing.
It's a bit
a little jarring for people that just don't ever use left-handed. But
yeah.
All right. I think the HUD colors changing are cool too. That's a nice quality of life feature for broadcast for attackers and defenders. The HUD colors being slightly different because now you can just look at the observer feed and just be like, you're an attacker feed, it's an defender feed, which is nice.
Yep.
Well, I wanted to make one note about the ranked stuff, the five stacking. It feels like past Diamond 3 where the most like restrictions are on it, where it's like you don't gain as much RR and whatever. It feels like it's gonna be dead on arrival because everybody wants to queue leaderboard. They want to grind the leaderboard, right? And so you're never gonna get queues. I think after a week or so, if you're Immortal 1+, it's gonna be really, really difficult to find 5-stack queues outside of peak times. And even during peak times down the line, people are not gonna play. So that's really odd, to be honest. Because you have to play against a 5-stack of similar MMR. It won't match you against people who are way out of range or anything like that.
Yeah. It did. I mean, having a 22-minute queue earlier today when we were queuing up did just kill my desire to ever even begin hitting that queue button because there's no estimate. It doesn't give you an idea of how long you might have to wait. Which I think that would be a fantastic quality of life adjustment if it had some level of being able to estimate how long it might take. But the fact that you could queue for a solo game or a duos game and just get into a game within 3-5 minutes max, or you can hit that button with a 5-stack and who knows how long it's going to be. That really is a killer. But I think it should be pretty cool for people who are trying to queue like between like gold, diamond kind of level or lower.
I think it'll be a great place for them to find actual organized, like a little bit more organized play. The problem is that since it doesn't have much stake, it's not really organized play. So it's not really what I think it was intended to be, which is a stopgap until Clash comes out. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I got to say, I was dicking around in those 5 stacks a little more than I would have done in a duos game, because I know that I'm only going to lose 4 ranked rating if I lose. Yeah. So, I mean, I was just picking chamber and running around. I was trying to do stuff. But I wasn't really bothered if we lose the game. I mean, it sounds like some more from a subconscious point of view.
Yeah, like it sounds like some content games, honestly.
Yeah.
Or it's like still playing for ranked, so it's better than, I don't know, like unrated.
Yeah,
it's
better than like 10
more like between
unrated,
unrated and competitive.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah, it's interesting at the very least. But I'm going to pose a question to you guys about Chamber. Do you think from what we've seen so far that he is going to be in the meta defining, or meta breaking? Or in fact, not even picked at all? Where on that spectrum do you think Chamber is? Because I've seen different takes from different folks. Anywhere from, I don't think he's even going to get played, to he's going to entirely break this economy-based meta. We're all doomed. It's Jett Chamber every map. What do you think?
I think his TP being so fluid has changed my opinion about his placement a little bit. Because I was a little bit worried about how static his play style was looking to be, where they had a lot of Sentinel-like mechanics, but then they gave him like what felt like duelist eco abilities. And when I see how fluid he is, I'm actually kind of confident that he'll probably have a place in the meta, and teams will probably try to actively experiment with him far more than they did with like things like KO. When KO first arrived, but I'm still not certain he's gonna I don't think he's gonna be some sort of like a new eco-breaking messiah that's gonna be the next Jett by any means.
When you say meta breaking, I'm thinking Viper with the 50 to K type of stuff, right?
Okay.
Because I don't think he's that powerful, but I do think he's powerful, and I don't think it's for any of the reasons. After playing him today, yes, all the reasons that I think people are speculating about, which is the eco, because you get a free op every 7 rounds or whatever. That is a big deal, but the alarm bots are actually amazing. You get 2 alarm bots with massive range, and yeah, they can be broken because you can see them very easily, but once they break, you get a notification, right? So it's very similar, and it covers a bigger range, and you can put them in places where you can tactically slow people and combo that with nades or sucks or pretty much anything else. So it's a mix of the Sage slow and the alarm bots, and you get 2 of them, and they stay active the entire time. I think that is busted. I actually think that is busted.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you guys about. Now, see, when it's on the ground there, does it only detect people once they get into its line of sight? Like once someone pushes through Octagon?
You see the little camera? It's like a rotating Logitech Brio.
It does. It looks very much like a Logitech webcam.
Oh, I see. So like the player that just went into the corner in Octagon there got detected.
Yes.
And he broke it before it popped and made the slow field.
And in fact, I think, Balla, what someone was telling us, I don't know whether you verified it, if you break, even if it applies the slow to you, if you break the bot, does that then remove the slow?
No. I'm pretty sure, I didn't confirm this, but I'm pretty sure just playing in the game that it's like a bee sting. It has one stinger. It shoots the laser. If it hits, then it disables. The slow field will go out, and then you can't break it anymore.
Right.
I'm pretty sure, but I might be wrong about that.
Yeah. I mean,
but either way, if you break it, it's not nullifying the slow field or anything. Once the slow field is out, it's out.
Yeah. Now, how did you guys feel about the pistol after playing with it a little bit? Those are going to be my 2 questions: the bots and the pistol.
Well, what do you? Where's the range? I mean, it's essentially a sheriff. So
is it? Yeah. Is it better than a sheriff, you think?
I mean, it is in the sense that you can ADS, which I don't think I did once because I kind of forgot that you could, because it feels like you're playing with a sheriff, right? The recoil is the same. The pull-out time is quicker, but I played a full match of him, and maybe when I play more, I'll find more options, more opportunities to use that. But there aren't really that many times where I'm rifling and have to immediately pull out my secondary weapon in this game. And it is better with Chamber, but is it good enough? I mean, I just ended up using it on eco rounds, basically. But like I said, I'm not very good.
Well, there's no fall off, and the recovery time between shots is faster too, right? It also has those advantages where there's no fall off damage, so you can one-shot someone, like one-shot headshot someone from anywhere with it, and also it does recover slightly quicker in terms of like as you're able to fire faster with it.
I'm
you
not
can't Sheriff,
sure
correct?
whether that's true, actually.
I thought it was.
It currently has a visual bug, so that's very difficult to even verify, because when you shoot it in the practice range, even if you spam it, the visual says it all landed in the same spot, but actually it doesn't. It spreads out like a Sheriff would. I know I know you can pull the weapon out faster than a Sheriff, but I'm doing this as well just in case someone doesn't understand what I mean by that.
Pull it out?
Pull it out.
Yeah, he's not talking about having to go to CVS at 3 a.m. to get, what, spend $53.76. What? What?
Very specific number.
Not that you know the price for any good reason. No. But I don't know whether you can actually shoot it faster. I don't know about that.
Yeah, I mean, those were going to be... Those are my two big questions, though, was the alarm bot and the pistol. Did you try it on the pistol round at all? Like, do you think it has any use there?
I mean, Kurt actually showed it on the pistol round the first time.
Yeah.
I think on that pistol round, I bought full armor and 4 shots at the Sheriff, or whatever the gun is actually called. I probably need to figure out the name of it.
Headhunter?
It's called Headhunter.
The Headhunter. I bought 4 bullets to the Headhunter. Was that the best pistol round buy? No, but it was fine because you have your classic to rely on normally anyway. So you've got armor classic, and then you've also got 4 shots of something better. So
yeah, I think at the very least, Chamber is going to get played on some maps. I think that's kind of inevitable, honestly. I think the TP. I think he looks far too strong on defense. I think the economic implications are there. I think that I still really want to try. I really want to try him on Breeze sometime. I'd like to try him on Breeze, and I think maybe on some of the choky maps, depending on how effective the bots are, or the slow fields are, or how effective you are on Chamber at actually getting the slow fields triggered, or how often you can get a kill to trigger them in a choky area, like on if a team is executing on Bind. Or something like that, like on down short. How if those are effective and actually triggering, I think that it'll be pretty sick.
It's gonna be really easy. I
Will
guarantee
it be? If it's going to be really easy, I really think that he's going to be played a lot, at least on some of the choky maps. And I think that on a map like Breeze 2, that's kind of bigger, I think you can get some good value out of the bots being at infinite range, and also just having long range weapons as your economy guns.
The other thing to point
sick.
out, though, with the cams is that you can see them as the opponents from any distance, right?
Yeah.
So you can kill them. It's not like a trip where they're invisible until you get close. And that also applies to Alarm Bot. These have to be hidden in some way. Otherwise, you can just destroy them. So I'm thinking kind of about playing Chamber on attack. And like, okay, we take a main on ascent, and you put down one of your cams so that you know if they re-clear a main. Okay, that would work because it's behind a corner. But now I'm thinking about Breeze, and I'm trying to control cannon or control mid. Well, I would have to put them in the middle. I can't tuck them to one side because otherwise it wouldn't be wide enough. So I have to put them like an alarm bot right in the middle, but then they're visible. So if an enemy is miles away, they'll just kill it. So I think some of the areas in which they would be incredibly good if they were invisible are not going to be as viable just because you can shoot them from a long distance and it doesn't give you as good info.
The one thing is you can put them vertically, right? You could put it on top of a box, stuff like that, where it's literally invisible, but it will have line of sight towards people as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, it can shoot down. Cool. Like if it's like vertical, it can shoot down.
It has to have line of sight.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to experiment with the teleport to see whether that could work vertically as well. I set up the teleport in some high ground areas, but I don't think if you put a teleport on top of a box, I was stood underneath the box, and I don't think I could access it as a teleport anchor. I don't think I could go from that. You don't normally need line of sight, but I don't know whether it works vertically. I only tried it like once or twice, so don't take my word completely for it.
I saw people doing it when they were in PBE, so I think that there's something wrong with the way that you do it.
Right, there's probably just something wrong with how I set it up.
So after playing it a bit, what maps do you guys think that he'll be best on?
My take is that he will be played on all maps in pro play. Not necessarily all the time. I think it'll be a preference thing, depending on like whether you like Killjoy or whether you like Cypher. But I think I'm convinced that he can be played actually as a Sentinel. Like I think last episode I said I don't think that will be the case, but I think that will be the case because I think the economic impact that he has is good enough to want to play him, and then I also think that the Sentinel aspect of him will also be good enough. But I don't think he's going to be good in ranked because I think you actually need, in order to get really good value out of him, you need good synergy for the alarm bots.
Yeah, I could see him get played in ranked just by people who want to aim duel and kind of disappear.
Yes.
But the thing is, you need to have pre-planned where you're going to aim duel, and a lot of people in ranked are dumb and they're just going to try and run at you. And if you just try and, if you're thinking about, I'm going to walk down mid on Haven, for example, that doesn't help. You can't, I mean, where are you going to set up the TP? You just throw it down in mid?
Jett and Reyna players, not going to be, like the Jett and Reynas in ranked are not going to have fun on Chamber, I think.
Yeah, because you're limited by your utility, whereas they just love running at you. So, yeah.
But he's so cool that I feel like all the duelist players are still, all the crack Zoomer duelists are just gonna be like, I need to play Chamber. I need to play him. He's so cool looking. I need to play him. He's got the op. Like,
For a week,
I feel like it's just gonna happen.
And
yeah, but sure, there's gonna be 1 week of elo terrorism, and then everyone will start. It'll be good.
See, that's what, I know everyone people keep like joking like you know, this is the agent for when people instalock duelists, but you're a duelist main.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I was thinking of. I'm like, I was thinking about like, wow, if someone takes my Reyna, I'm just going to play Chamber and pretend to be a Sentinel.
Jett,
this is great.
Reyna already get instalocked. You have two duelists on the team. They're like, oh, fuck it, I'll play Sage and Chamber. And then the final one's just like, well, I have to play Smoke, so I don't know. I'll just run at them with Omen, I guess.
You think I'm going to play Cypher? Killjoy? I mean, that's funny.
I miss the old Wyatt, the non-painted nails Wyatt who would block Sova.
Actual Sova player. Good for the team, Wyatt.
No,
new Wyatt. Likes to hit heads, Wyatt. Believes in the Vandal, Wyatt. All right.
Yep.
Well, talking about this, let's move on to the first time we've ever done this absolute clickbait segment, the Plat Chat agent tier list.
It's a good time to do it. There's a new agent. It's time to clickbait.
Where does Chamber fit into the agent tier list? We've never done one of these before. I'm mauled when other people do them because how do you even tell? It's a game about compositions, about meshing them together.
Yeah, but I guess you can, I don't know, can factor in how often they're played on how many maps and that kind of thing.
Okay, sure.
I mean, I don't know.
But
we'll figure it out.
Want us to do what, composition tier list? Like, what is this? We're not fucking.
Well, we gotta see which agent. We're just doing an agent tier list. You know, which ones? Which ones
tell
we
me.
Find
Tell me the most busted agents in the game. Just going around in a circle. Connor, you can start. Most busted goes in S.
All right, most busted goes in S. So right off the bat, with the addition of Breach. Right off the bat, with the addition of Chamber, I should say, we're gonna need a lot of synergy. Not Breach, with the addition of Chamber, we're gonna need a lot of synergy with those alarm bots. So Brimstone goes S because Brimstone S tier. You drop the smokes, you cover the alarm bots, you cover those up. I think about that. Balla, you talked about you need a lot of synergy.
Okay,
you get value out of there. This is the smokes on it. Make sure they can't see it.
You can molly the slows. Like that's
molly the slows. Keep it together.
Put that old man back in the group of agents at the bottom.
Okay,
give me someone who's actually broken, Connor. Who's in genuinely S tier?
Let's all right, hold on. Let's start with some reason.
Okay.
Let's start with a little bit of reason. Like we could.
Well, I mean, I think at that point you put Astra S tier.
Sure.
Okay.
Astra S tier.
I think
it's hard to argue against Astra being S tier because she's just unequivocally the best smoker right now in terms of like general use.
Yeah, I think that's quite reasonable. I think there's maybe an argument for her being in A tier after she's been, you know, taken down a peg, but I think S is pretty reasonable.
But I mean, even still, when we look at all the compositions and like the use she gets, like you can perma run Astra all the time and you'll never run into issues. You know?
Yeah. All right, Balla, who are you putting in S tier?
Cypher. I think Cypher's really fucking good.
Ah, okay. What's your reason?
Like, you think about all the like really good Cypher players and how much value they can bring to them. What are you doing?
What's the problem?
We're beginning an agent tier list.
Yeah. We're listing the best agents.
I mean,
Cypher in S tier.
You didn't even let me
Yeah, you didn't let him finish.
I didn't say anything until you asked me the question.
I think
just
the
said
the way you formatted this, Josh, is not correct. You should go agent by agent, not tier
I
by
should
tier.
go agent by agent because people are trolling me and just putting everything in S tier.
No.
Okay, well let's start. Okay, well let's pretend we started on Cypher. Let's pretend we started on Cypher.
No, Balla, give me the reasoning for Cypher.
Yeah, all right. So the actual really good players who play Cypher are just bringing so much value to the team. You think of people like Nats, right? You think of people like Dapper, right? Anytime they're playing Cypher, they're just like so good. And you add the lurk ability, the actual aggressive ability with the cages you can have with the weird angles and whatnot. I think good Cypher players are the fucking best thing.
It's
in
a
the
bit
world.
of a genetic gap for those that play Cypher.
I appreciate Dapper and Nats, absolutely, but who's third? Who's fourth? It can't be an S tier agent when there's only really 2 notable players who dominate the game with the pick.
Yeah, but maybe that's more just a testament to how difficult playing the agent at such an effective level is, you know? But that the capabilities of, or rather what you can do with the agent is still S tier level if 2 of the world's best are doing it. You know?
This bothers me to no end, but all right.
All right, Wyatt, your turn.
You've made your argument.
I'll give us the obvious one, and then we can go from there. Jett is an S tier.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
That's an easy, obvious. You can't put it in A. You can't put it anywhere else.
Dude, it's so common though. It's so boring. Like,
you want a hot take, do you?
I mean, it is.
But it's true. It's common. It's boring. It's cliche for a reason because she's extraordinarily good. Put her back in S tier, Kurt. Stop frigging up our agent tier list.
Yeah.
She's S tier.
Everyone
plays her.
She's S. We all know
Jett.
Knives
are better than a rifle.
We all know Jett has to be in S tier. That's a fact
I'm gonna take Kurt's advice. I'm giving up on this. Put someone in S tier.
No, you didn't give us one.
What do you mean I didn't?
Yeah, you didn't.
I have to give one.
Go agent by agent.
All right.
No one does it by tier. Go agent by agent.
I'm gonna agree with Connor. We'll put the Astra up in S, and then we'll start with doing it agent by agent.
So you've taken mine, and you've just taken my Astra. That's fine.
Breach.
Got mad at Connor and stole his pick, and then put it in S.
Yeah.
Breach.
Yeah.
What tier does Breach belong in?
B might stand for Breach tier.
He's with the addition of Fracture and the fact that that's actually what I was thinking about. On Fracture.
Yeah. It might be A tier.
He can't be A tier though because he really isn't played on any other map.
Have you seen like Liquid playing it on Split? He's still super strong on Split.
Also, a lot of the APAC teams have just been playing him all over the place because he combos with Astra. Like the fault line with a suck is unreal. He's in that place where there are better options most of the time on every map apart from Fracture. Yeah. But I think B is reasonable though. I think
there might not be better options though on Split. I think that's kind of up in the air, honestly.
Yeah.
I think on some of the other maps, because Breach to play Breach, he fits into, you have to be playing a fairly specific style. You need a stylized approach when you have the Breach. That is viable on other maps.
He's kind of like a better Sky, in my opinion, right now. Just the way that
I think he's.
Yeah, I could see. No, I could see, especially on maps like Fracture and Split. Yeah, kind of just a better Sky.
I mean, definitely. I think Liquid have been doing really well with him on Split, with Breach on Split. I think the thing, it's like on the map. I think on the maps where Breach is very viable, it is proving to be better than Sky.
I think on...
You know what I mean?
On Fracture, for sure. On Split, potentially, yes. On the other maps, no. I don't agree. But that's why I'm saying put him in the B tier.
How many other maps are there, really, mathematically? So when you really just divide it up...
There's 5 of the maps, Connor. Have you all agreed to troll me in this segment? Is there just some kind of behind-the-scenes agreement?
Lest we forget about fucking Guild playing it on Icebox.
Yep, Guild did play it on Icebox for a while.
No, we could. I think B stands for Breach.
B stands for Breach. KO.
Okay.
KO is A tier right now.
No, what? He's D tier.
I think
D
tier.
He's tragic.
There's no way he's D tier. He's so much better than he was before.
You saw C9 play him. You saw C9 play him, and you've lost your mind. I mean, Balla.
It's not just C9 though. Zeppa's made use of him.
Soulcast.
I mean, yeah, the EU teams have made some limited use of him, though I don't think they're playing it the best. But the Zeppa and PTC, and then
PTC again. Didn't we decide last time that he was just fucking shooting people?
He was just bragging.
No, that was Bren that said he was just shooting people. He's not just shooting people. The KO utility, I think KO is viable on Ascent, viable on Breeze, viable on Fracture. And then outside of that, it becomes more
I've seen some good play with him on Bind still as well. I don't. I think KO is really trending into the meta.
But I don't think he's A tier again. I think he's B. I think he's in the same position as Breach.
I think
but
he's
probably a bit higher.
I really think he's A tier now. I see teams are getting so much more value out of his flashes after the buffs.
Are they getting more value than out of the Breach?
Than out of the Breach? Yes, if we're going by the map metric, on more maps, KO is getting more value than Breach.
But on the maps where he's played, is he getting more value than Breach?
They're not played on the same maps, though.
No, they're not.
So it's hard to say. I think on more maps, though, KO is better.
The only reason why... never mind. I was thinking about Breach.
Yeah. This might... Actually, I'm not going to go too scathing hot crazy with it.
Don't fucking dare put him in ST.
But I think KO is it's continuing to trend more and more into the meta.
Maybe we make an A+ tier and we put him in the A+.
We already have enough tiers. We have enough.
Okay.
We're just top loading everything.
Well, let's start with good agents.
I want him to be in B. Wyatt thinks he's in A. Balla and Connor, I need to hear from you. Like, where do you think he is? And we'll go somewhere in between where people think.
I genuinely think he's D. I think he's so niche. Like, and the games I've seen, you're taking a lot of work to get those. Like, you think about Steel, bro. He got such little value at Berlin with KO. Like,
he was playing bad KO though, Balla. Before the flashes. The flashes have changed him a lot. Yeah.
No, he never played bad KO.
He was playing I mean bad as in like pre-buff KO. Steel was playing before the buff. The buff has made a huge difference to people's ability to like pop flash in and stuff like that. I'm not saying Steel was bad at KO. No.
Oh, he got dropped for it. So.
Yeah.
Connor, what are you thinking?
I think we split the difference. Put him in C.
Put him in C. Okay, I mean, put him in C. That's what the people say. I mean, I disagree. Wyatt's mauled in, but we've got to move on. We've got to move on.
We can't say.
By the way,
KO
if you already started to mauled, guess what? This is going to be a horrible compromise, exactly like our pick'ems. KJ, Killjoy, where does she belong?
D tier because of Breach buff.
Yeah, you can clear utility so easily.
Her role is kind of poo. There's so many ways of countering it. Do you run a Sova? Yes. Shock darts, ult. Do you run a raise? Satchels, nades. Do you run a breach?
She's still seeing so much play, though.
Yeah, because she combos with Astra very, very well.
Outlandish amounts of play.
I think...
Like, she's being played really commonly on Icebox now. She's always played on Ascent, pretty much. Like, almost, I mean, it feels like 100% of the time. Played on Split. I
think she's B tier, personally. I think she just combos too well with Astra to be any lower.
I mean, I think she's in the meta right now and is good, but I think that there's a high chance she gets replaced by Chamber on a lot of maps. I'm prepared to move her down.
Connor, what are you thinking? Balla already said D tier.
I'm sort of in agreement of just moving her down. You know, you have Chamber added. I mean, Cypher's obviously S tier. So I think you definitely gotta move her down. Like her niche in the meta is just not that strong right now.
So I do think surely only down to C though, Connor.
Surely to D.
To D.
I mean,
Connor and Balla have got together, designed to terrorize our agent list. Balla put Cypher in S.
I really think that he sold me on the Cypher argument. I'm not going to lie.
There cannot be
Wall Street to me.
There cannot be a 5-tier difference.
Penny stocks.
There just can't be a 5-tier difference between Cypher and Killjoy. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It's a myth. It's a legend.
It's on the tier list already. There's 5. If you count, there's 5.
When you say that like that, that just isn't a good point.
I like how the lens flare is just acting up while this is happening.
It's going crazy.
Wait, can you pull the list up again? I'd be okay with C because I think she's falling out of the meta. I think she's being played really heavily right now, but rather is going to fall out of the meta when Chamber comes in. I don't think that she's actually getting that much.
I'd be fine.
I think she's okay. But
if the people above us are willing to compromise,
are you guys willing
trolling?
Are we trolling?
We're not trolling.
I think D's too low.
Why is she not D?
Because she combos perfectly with Astra. She's so good at stopping people from getting into sites. Just one molly, one suck, and they can't get in.
Static. It's so.
I mean, also we're gonna be doing these same plays with Chambers soon. We're gonna do the
No, because you can't pop your slow. You don't.
I mean, Chamber is about to be legitimately just a better Killjoy.
But you can't.
In a lot of ways.
You can't pop that molly. You can't stop them from getting into sight. You just put down your thing, and you're like, well, I fucking hope they don't break that.
Frag out.
Oh Jesus Christ! I'm talking to maniacs. Okay, I will put Killjoy in D tier if you agree to knock Cypher down a couple of pegs. We simply cannot have a 5-tier difference between Cypher and Killjoy. It's not. It doesn't map onto reality.
I
think Killjoy should just be C.
I'm down to peg Cypher.
Really? You're down? You want to peg him?
Yeah,
put Cypher in it.
Well, if that's the case, then yeah, sure. Let's all peg Cypher.
So where are you putting Cypher? Are you putting Cypher in B tier now, Balla?
You said a couple of pegs, so like C tier, yeah.
C tier?
I mean, that's ridiculous. Put him in A. Put him in A.
How are you happy with moving him from S to C? You've just come in.
Move him to A.
To be the devil. You're just the devil on our shoulder.
A.
Yeah, let's split the difference. Let's put him in A.
Omen.
I'm
going to be honest. D tier.
Fair.
I think the D tier. Oh, fucking hell. I think the D tier should only be reserved.
D tier stands for don't play Omen.
Yeah, that's where Yoru belongs. Omen and Killjoy belong in the C tier, where you can absolutely play them at the pro level.
Now, actually,
where are you trying to
Where
are you trying to play Omen?
Put Yoru?
Where am I trying to play Omen?
Yeah, over Astra. Where are you trying to play Omen? Where are you trying to play Omen in the Astra Viper meta?
Big facts.
Where are you trying to play him?
I would play Omen.
Bind? Ascent?
I would play Omen as a secondary smoker on...
are you the new TSM coach?
Secondary smoker.
100 Thieves Icebox comp.
All right. I mean, this is ridiculous. D tier.
No, D tier.
D tier.
He is better on Ascent sometimes, I think. Depending on what your comp is.
You're capping.
He doesn't belong in the same tier as Killjoy. Killjoy needs to be moved to C. Omen is not as good as Killjoy. Oh, sorry. Omen's not as good as Killjoy. Sorry, I said that the right way around.
Yeah, you got...
Killjoy is got to be moved up, man.
This guy's seeing
She just
red.
has to be.
I mean...
Well, we can talk about... We can do a review of it at the end.
Keep going.
Okay, all right, keep going.
Okay,
Phoenix, D. D! Get him in fucking D! When would you ever run a Phoenix over a Sky? D, D, D. D for dick.
I think C.
D for he doesn't do dick.
I think
C for Haven.
Haven.
I think C for Haven.
Who the fuck is still playing him on Haven? Nookie?
Rise?
And Sick?
Neptune?
Yes.
Neptune was popping off.
Neptune right there.
Bro,
Yeah, Neptune was nasty.
he's so out of the meta, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, okay. He is. I do think Phoenix is very viable on Haven.
He's as viable as Omen is on Ascent.
Yeah,
that's not true.
It is true. But
his
No,
ult's better.
that's not true.
Omen gets played more than Phoenix does at pro play.
That's a mistake. If Omen is being played more on Ascent than Phoenix is on Haven, that's a mistake.
It's just...
But I can accept Phoenix and D. He's really good on one map out of 7. Well, wait, but what about when you play him on Icebox? I move him up a little bit.
No, Curtis.
We can.
And we at least put him at the top of the D tier.
All right, let's go.
There's no world in which he's better than either of them. He's the worst agent we've ranked so far.
Killjoy is the top of D tier. Phoenix is ahead of Omen.
Phoenix is not ahead of Omen.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
I can't believe it.
You didn't name one map where you're playing Omen over Astra, and then you're like, Ascent. Not a good idea, though.
It is not a good idea to be playing Phoenix on any map.
On Haven, it's not a good idea.
Nope, it's not a good idea.
Oh, you're a capping,
It's
man.
not a good idea. Phoenix comps are not good anymore.
This guy's capping.
Okay,
Wait, let's just move on to the next agent.
Raze.
I think Raze is S tier. Raze is so powerful.
She's not good enough to be S because she strictly gets replaced on a lot of comps by the Jett. She's not good enough to be in the same tier.
A tier just because of the boombot.
Yeah, I think she's A though. I think A.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
She's fantastic.
That's fair.
She's fantastic, and if Jett wasn't in the game, she'd be played.
Oh, I mean, if Jett gets
time.
nerfed and Raze doesn't really get touched, she's gonna be everywhere.
Yeah.
But
okay, Reyna.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I think also A tier.
Yeah.
Oh, bro, you can't.
That's like bottom of A tier.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It has to be bottom of A tier, though, right?
I mean, think about how much individual impact you can have with her and like playing off of her and getting
Tens Reyna,
years. Yeah, and dismisses.
Reyna.
Yeah, I mean, the Reyna is just a
impact you can have
take over the game agent on really relevant maps.
Yeah.
Like Breeze is getting played so
Reyna
much, and Arena just takes over the game.
Yeah,
Icebox, it just takes over the game.
And she is viable on a lot of different maps. I don't think. Yeah, no, I'm.
That's the thing too, though.
She once you combo her with Chamber, you can have double dismiss.
That's just, if you imagine a Reyna, Jett, and a Chamber.
I can't hit either of them. There's only 4 frames.
But genuinely, I mean, really at that though, Reyna is viable on a ton of the maps. It's at that point, it's kind of down to the players you have.
Yes,
the personnel.
The reason that I'm not big on Reyna is that she's so heavily reliant on player skill. Like you actually just have to pop off, but that's not a good enough reason to drop her out of the A tier. Yeah, I think where she's ranked is pretty fair, actually.
Yeah, I think so. I think she's just super
Sage
relevant.
then. Sage.
That's a tough one.
Sage is currently seeing play on Icebox by most teams, but it's not that she's good. It's the map's bad.
I mean, it's definitely like, you know, it's like tier 1.5 and tier 2, but in the community gaming tournament this weekend, there was a shitload of Icebox played and very little Sage.
Yeah.
It is definitely trending out. Teams are going towards like the
she gets played on Split still.
Mike's
quite a lot.
Envy Icebox comp.
Yeah, she still gets played on Split quite a bit.
Yeah.
I think...
Oh, I forgot about CNED. Unbind.
Yeah, Unbind as well.
Unbind.
I mean, you actually... The thing is, I feel like Sage is not in a bad place. It's just there's better options a lot of the time for the job that she does. I think she's in the C tier, actually.
I don't know.
She's either C or the absolute top of D tier. And, by the way, Killjoy does not belong in D tier, and I refuse to admit otherwise.
I think we should put C. I think C is fair. I think C is fair for Sage.
I think D, though. I think if Phoenix is in D, Sage is also in D.
The only reason
she's so much more viable in so many different comps.
So boring.
That's true. If Phoenix is in D,
we're not rating them on their fucking entertainment levels, Balla.
Well,
we're rating them on how good they are.
No, I mean, he's fallen asleep because it's also just so... It's not just the entertainment. It's also just... It's so expected. Like, teams know how to play around that on Icebox.
They do. But...
It's not hidden like it was when
what, are you gonna wall
teams
up
were just
stand on your wall and shoot down in the window? Like...
Yeah, I think Sage is
she's
D.
a bit underrated there, but I think that's fine.
Because I think she's good, really just... Yeah, I think
Sky.
She's better than Killjoy, though.
Let's move to fucking hell.
Yeah.
No. Let's move on to Sky. Now, Sky would have been in S tier in the previous patch. Well, not the previous patch, but whatever that patch was where she could like just flash
3 flashes and was just booming everyone.
She's still very good. I think she's still A tier, personally. Probably...
I don't know.
I actually don't know where I'd rank her in the A tier, but the problem is I don't... What? Sorry, say again.
Breach is coming for that. It's coming for a little bit more relevance.
I think...
But only on 2 out of 5 of the maps, and even one of those is debatable because there's a lot of people still running Sky on Split.
KO is coming in a lot of KO's coming in for a lot of the Sky playtime now, too.
Yeah. Not a lot of it.
Yeah.
Some of it.
But when you split that up between KO's actually viable now on some of the maps where Sky was seeing play, but now they're dogging and getting knifed when they're standing in Breeze. And then also Breach being more viable on some of the maps, I think she drops a lot in this meta. And I think that coming up, she drops a lot.
Never drops below B tier, though. Never. I mean, she never even drops below Breach.
With how much
she literally can't drop below Breach. She's way better across way more maps.
Which is why, I mean, I wanted KO higher on this list. Like, way higher.
But she has to still be
I think
A or
I think
top
KO
of B.
should be A and Breach and Sky should be B. But
I can't believe you think KO's a better pick than Sky, though.
KO is just actually good now.
I mean,
KO is actually
KO's good, but
now.
she's not KO is not better than Sky across all maps. It's just not. That's just not true. You could.
I could follow.
If you had a perma Sky player on your pro team, and then you had a different team with a perma KO player, you'd be molding at the perma KO player much more than the perma Sky. The perma Sky could get minimum decent value across all maps.
His knife now. He's able to pop flash and fall from his knife.
This segment was a terrible idea.
Yes, it was.
Okay,
it will make the humans who are watching it lose their minds.
Where do you think Sky goes?
I think Sky goes somewhere in A, but I'm undecided as to where.
What do you think, Avast?
You know, Wyatt, I'm willing to make the first revision here. Move KO up to A, put Sky with Breach.
I'm down.
Yeah, make our revision here.
KO to A, Sky and Breach B.
That's so
KO
wrong.
is coming so into the meta, and it's taking up Sky's playtime. Sky playtime is getting eaten up by Breach and KO.
But Sky previously had 100% playtime.
Previously.
And now she's in B.
Previously.
She hasn't dropped that low.
Previously.
It's the recency bias is eating your brain.
Previously.
The bigger they are, the harder they fall. That's the saying. You know?
Sova, S tier.
There's no.
I'm not going to debate that.
Any arguments?
I'm not going to debate that.
Because Sova really, if there was ever a time to not have him in S tier, it would be now with Fracture, right? Because he doesn't get played on Split and Fracture. He can. There are teams that do it, but it's not a permapick. But having said that, he's essentially permapick everywhere else.
If we put Sage in D, I mean, Sova's just as Z sleeper as she is.
I mean, Sova's pretty boring, but
also, I mean, he definitely has a little bit more use. He has a little bit more use.
These Lucios are out of date and will kill me if I eat them. And I'm on the verge of snacking. I will open this packet and start eating if we keep putting people in dumb fucking things. I will suicide by Lucios live on this fucking podcast.
I think, honestly, compared to Jett and Aster, though, Sova is not
as good as those.
Not seeing as much playtime. I think moving to A.
I mean, what if we split the difference here again? What if we split the difference? Put him in B.
He's in the same tier
are on a different plane.
Sova's in the same tier as Cypher. It's just wrong. It's just by any measurable metric incorrect. What have we done?
You make it fair.
What have we done? Either move Sova to S or get that wide-brimmed motherfucker down where he belongs.
Let's go to the next agent. We gotta go to the next agent. Let's see what the next agent is. We gotta
Viper.
Have you ever tried to shoot Cypher with no brim?
Bren has.
Yeah, Bren, I hear him screaming about that. Viper is in S tier.
No.
No?
No.
You're shitting me.
Wait, why not?
Because I think...
Because of KO being so good?
This is a deep thought. Holy shit.
Well, I was just trying to think how many maps she's played on regularly. Because she can be played on all maps if you want to.
Breeze.
Split, Icebox, Breeze, Bind, right? Are the four where you see her being played a lot.
Yeah.
She almost never gets played on Haven, even by the teams that really love playing Viper. It's very rare to see her played on Ascent, though you can make it work. And then there's another map that I'm forgetting. Oh, Fracture. She actually does get played quite a lot in Fracture, though. So she's somewhere between S and A to me, but she's not so oppressive that I think of her as S tier, but maybe the top of A. I don't know. I'm fine if she's bottom S, I think. But I don't think she's... I don't know. Her ultimate is absolutely absurd as well. It just almost wins you around. So, yeah, the more that I'm thinking about it, the more I'm coming around to her being an S, actually.
I think she has to be S tier. Do you guys disagree?
Sure.
We'll
allow it.
Balla?
Yep. No, I don't disagree. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Now we're on to Yoru.
Okay, we're on to Yoru. Now, here's what I want Kurt to do. Take those four that are in the D tier, move them up to C, and put Yoru in on his own. No! You put Yoru on his own in the D for does diddly dick tier.
I know that I'm on my own here. But...
What?
But... I know that I'm on my own here, but I still think
I'm going to have to kick you off the show. This is me being really sad that a friendship has ended and a colleague will have to be fired. This is the face of me just knowing that you're done. You're done.
But
this next sentence,
I'm just gonna.
you're done.
No, I'm just gonna say. I was just gonna say.
What are you going to say?
Yeah, let's hear it. Let's
That
hear
I
it.
think Yoru on Fracture
Yeah.
is still very viable and has yet to be explored by a good team. Maybe FPX should have tried it. Maybe Xiao should have played.
That's what people
Yoru.
said about Bind.
But that was and Yoru actually is kind of decent on Bind.
But
it
he's
just doesn't get played.
not. He's
I mean, who's given it an honest shot though?
But he's all
Have you
right to the
watched
point
Tens
where.
play Yoru?
What? Sorry.
Have you watched Tens play Yoru?
I mean, Tens
like
did play it for
Yeah.
a little bit, and it was
I watched
working.
Not in pro play.
I watched Tens play Yoru, and he was the first person to just jump out of his ult with a shorty, and that seemed to be his entire game plan with his ult.
That's pretty fucking. It's better than Killjoy ult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
I mean, there's no world in which he isn't the worst agent in the game. There's no world.
But think
I
about
would
the
debate
addition
that.
of Breach. Think about the addition of Chamber here, and the fact that it's a lot of slows are going to be going down here. A lot of area of effect that you're going to have to get around, and his control of that.
I
being able to
propose a
resist away,
composition.
He can get through it. He can get through it
I
quite
propose
easily.
a
Just send the TP over the slow.
Jett, Omen, Chamber, Yoru, and Raze. The amount of movement abilities.
The terraforming comp, they call it. The
Just
terraforming. It's just
The
so much
dive
control.
comp.
Yeah,
True.
it's just 5 dive.
Just 5-man dive comp.
And it has a
That's pretty
controller.
good.
And it has triple duelist and a sentinel.
That's
Listen,
pretty meta. That's pretty meta.
I
Put
know
Yoru
I know that Yoru
at the bottom.
belongs in D tier.
So,
But
and you agree?
I
The bottom of D tier, Kurt.
No.
I think that's debatable.
I think it's
Who
debatable.
would you have under Yoru?
Omen.
No, you
Omen.
would. Omen
Yeah.
still gets something like 30% playtime in pro play.
And it's wrong. That doesn't mean it's right.
Paranoia is.
doesn't mean it's okay.
Paranoia is better than all of Yoru's abilities put together. If you can press a button and it was
no.
all of Yoru's abilities in one and it insta-killed the person in front of you, Paranoia would still be better.
That's just.
I've seen you
that's
fall
your
for so
type
many
of knowledge.
things.
You are-
I don't even
this guy's
know.
losing it. This guy's losing it. That's fine.
Yeah,
though. We can have
whatever.
Yoru in D.
Whatever,
I think that
whatever.
Yoru's still really viable on Fracture, and I think that on some of the other maps he just hasn't really been played to his full potential. I think he
Brim.
could be in C, but
Brimstone.
you know,
I mean, he's got to be under Omen, right? He doesn't get.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
I
either.
genuinely think that Brim is better than Omen right now on a lot of maps. I think he's
He has
better
the
on
best
Fracture
weapon
right
again.
now. I think Brim could actually be played on Split. I think Brim could be played on Bind. And I think that he's better on those maps than Omen is.
Oh.
He is the one agent that a pro player mains literally only play. Like everybody else plays different agents.
You're
a
using
good point.
Barca. Barca is your argument to why
that's a good
Brimstone
point.
is not
That's
trash.
actually
Yeah.
a very good point. It's
He's not just a
really highly
Brim
sought
player, though. He's a
specialist.
Brim and Omen specialist. He plays both.
Yeah, but Omen's so out of the meta. Brimstone's in the meta currently.
No, he
We're able to
isn't.
combo him so much more.
The thing is,
Brimstone has never been more out of the meta than right now.
but I
like,
think when he's played, he
statistically.
gets value.
But so does Omen. His
No,
paranoia
he
gets.
doesn't.
Yes, he does. The
No, he
Omen
really
paranoia
doesn't,
gets
though.
big value.
He really doesn't. Do you see GMD with a paranoia in halls or with a molly?
Fuck me.
Genuinely, I think when the Brim is getting played, it's getting more value than the Omen. It's just niche, but where he's niche, he's getting more value than Omen is when Omen is
But
played,
the thing is, Omen is not niche.
which is a problem because he's not
There's a
getting
thumbnail
value.
right there,
Right,
Kurt.
That's the issue.
Take this timestamp. That's a thumbnail.
Omen is still playable everywhere. Would you want to play him
But
everywhere?
he's just worse than Astra.
Yes.
So
And
is
the Brim
Brimstone. You
offers
could
a
definitely
niche,
still get value with
a
the increased
niche
scope
kit.
duration with the Molly.
Yeah,
the
you
lineups.
can't go Astra Omen. You have to go Astra Brim or Astra Viper or Brim Viper.
Yeah, true.
You can't do the other way.
You can combo Brim with way more.
I
than you
think-
can with Omen.
I think
Astra Brim? Astra Brim? Who's playing Astra Brim comps,
on
Balla?
Fracture.
Suck Molly,
Yeah,
bro. What
yeah,
are you talking
yeah.
about?
There's options. There's options.
Suck Molly. So you're now you're into the mollies, are you? You little killjoy hater? You
Well,
little
yeah,
fucking
but that
pleader
Molly-
boy
you
nut.
can set up-
The kill
You can
big
set up-
Mollies, Josh. They're so.
Yeah, you can't break
Um,
up the Brimstone. Can't do it.
I think
Can you
I
use it
genuinely-
right?
I think Brimstone should be in C.
No, he
And
should not.
maybe
Do not
even-
put that
Yeah,
motherfucker in
yeah,
C tier.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think C.
I think
C.
it's C.
No, he
Genuinely.
Yeah.
I really.
non-ironically, you think Brim is higher value than Sage and KJ?
Where he's getting played, yeah. I think he's C.
I'm gonna have a Joker moment. I'm gonna have a fucking Joker moment in a second.
Fair. Well, there's only one agent left. We gotta go do it. We gotta talk Chamber.
Chamber. Where does Chamber fit?
A tier.
S tier.
S tier? A tier?
Yeah, S tier.
I think it's A.
I think his movement, and also when you see how strong his op is gonna be, along with his like trademark. Yeah, I feel like S is a little high when you compare it to like Jett, but A next to like Cypher and KO, yeah, that's fair.
No, he should be the only two agents that are going to be picked every single time in this meta is going to be Jett and Cypher.
Why is Cypher going to be picked?
Sorry. Jett and Chamber. My bad.
Why do you think Chamber is going to be 100% playtime, Balla?
Because the alarm bots are broken and he can op. Like he just economically, there's no reason not to pick him. And he can combo with other people.
True. I mean, also having another.
He's either S or A.
I think he might be A, yeah, but I'm interested in Balla's S tier pick. I don't know. I don't think he's quite there, but I feel like in the hands of a pro, you might be able to work magic with him, actually.
Yeah.
He's
I'd be okay with that.
He's gonna be sick.
I would prefer A, but I'm okay with S.
The question with it is,
he's under Jett.
He's good. No, you're
Right
off the goop. If it was up to you, Balla, this ranking would have said.
The thing is, if you have Jett and Chamber, there is the possibility of just getting so many extra actual buy rounds for your team.
Yeah.
I mean, that genuinely might just be busted to have both all the time.
But if we left this to Balla, the agent tier list would go Jett, Chamber, Cypher.
Oh, I forgot about Chamber.
Everything else would be in D tier.
It's good that we pegged him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is really good that we pegged Cypher.
I think
all the way down to the top of A tier.
I'm okay with this.
Bring it down a bit, but I mean, this is fine. There's a theoretical. I think you could still make some adjustments. Like you could put Yoru over Omen, maybe, but I think there's still some potential adjustments.
I've never been more tilted by a segment that we've done on this episode or on this show. I've never been more tilted by this.
Well, Josh, that would go for mission accomplished because we conspired against you for this segment. So, next segment.
Unbelievable. I mean, the molding was impossible. Impossible levels of molding for that.
Yeah,
I can't believe what occurred before my eyes.
The Cypher mold was the best of all.
I mean, that was just the perfect one. That was just the perfect one because there was a shred of logic, but
I can't believe what you three have created. I'm taking no credit whatsoever for this horrendous agent list.
Good, because you're the only actual person who had real takes.
Yeah.
Killed me. It killed me.
Yeah, we planned a little troll moment.
You said some funny stuff. I forgot. I should have been writing.
I'm gonna die.
We planned out a fun. We thought it'd be a funny little gag.
When I was watching your face change as he tried to describe the Yoru reasoning in the Phoenix, like you're
oh my god, that was 30 minutes.
That was a 30-minute segment where all we accomplished was making me angry. That's the only thing that got accomplished. People are going to screenshot that and they're going to think those are your real takes.
That is
We're going to put
your real takes.
That is so okay.
I'm more mad than our viewers right now who are also mad. Okay.
Anyway,
moving on. Another person that got angry earlier on in the year, Frost. Let's talk about 100 Thieves Frost. Got released from the organization.
Now you know what it's like when your team doesn't have good ping. You know the vitriol.
Okay, according to a report from George Geddes, 100 Thieves have released Frost, and Nitro is considering a move back to CSGO as well, which would leave the team... What, sorry?
He's been
Frost
released.
definitely happened.
Oh, Frost, Frost is already announced.
Confirmed. Yeah. Nitro is up in the air.
And George Geddes also said that Nitro is still considering this. What do you make of this move? The 100 Thieves team obviously failed to achieve their expectations this year, not being able to make it to champs as well. But I don't actually have any idea. And even from our interviews, it didn't seem like Frost was in charge of like cutting steel or anything like that.
I'm going to be honest, I have no opinion. I have nothing to say. I don't know. It's just another one of those coach situations. I don't know. What did he do? I don't know. What did he not do? I don't know.
I think he felt like an old boy.
The contrast between your determination to get certain agents into certain tiers and your lack of opinion on a thing that's happened. Like, the difference between real Wyatt and trolling Wyatt is giving me whiplash right now.
There's what?
You opinionless Orville.
So what's your take? You can't tell me you have a scathing, detailed take on the Frost removal.
No, I don't. I'm just pissed off that you fucking fought me over Phoenix and Yoru in D tier. That's what I'm pissed about.
Also,
does anyone have any opinions about Frost?
I have opinions.
An opinion, please.
I have an opinion.
One.
I do have two. Actually, first, in the Plat Chat, I noticed, I want you to say, when you said, like, when they called Chamber Daddy, the Play Valorant account did tweet that. I linked it in the chat, by the way, if you bring that up. Secondly, I think this guy was just, it felt like an old boys club, like, yep, there it is. Here's Daddy. So, told you.
Okay.
Told you.
Well,
no, I mean, you're right.
All right.
Also, I kind of
they know their audience.
He's
I kind
young
of
Daddy.
predetermined that because that post was made 2 minutes ago. So I predetermined that post. So that post was made 2 minutes ago.
What?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
So Connor had a fucking vision of
I
the.
literally just vision.
That's so Raven vision.
Astral projected into the fucking astral plane and made that post happen. By the way.
What is happening?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I just astral projected that. I sent my spirit form out into the planes and it brought that back. But unrelated to that, I feel like he was there because he knew people and he wasn't really. I didn't feel like we knew much about Frost as a coach. And the reactions from across the community seems like all the old people, literally, Hiko was like, "Love this guy. Love this dude. This dude's the best." And then I saw a bunch of very lukewarm responses to like his release as well.
So you're talking about like from the players' perspective?
From just the wider community and players and things like that. Like when you gauge the reactions to Frost release, there was like a bunch of people that were like really old guard being like, "Oh, I love this guy," and there's a bunch of people being like,
I think as well though from what happened when he got that ban from Riot for a short period of time coaching, he's also pissed off a lot of the old guard in CS as well, because there was a lot of people with a lot of negative things to say back then. I don't know. I was roasting you for not having an opinion, but I don't really know what you can say about this.
It's the same thing as like when we were talking about. I can't remember if you were on that episode. It was just like when we were talking about Chet joining Envy.
But Chet has a bad record though.
Whereas something short.
Frost does not.
But my
Frost
point,
has a meh record.
But I was going to get to a point that I made there, which is that we just never know what these coaches are doing, so people just speculate wildly. Yeah. And it's essentially just boils down to, if team doing good, coach good. If team doing bad, coach bad. Unless like someone else in the community just talks about it. But I think there needs to be more communication, I think, from I don't know whether it be like interviews during the streams, like after matches. I think it's interesting when they interview the coaches and I think ask directly, like, what was wrong with the team when you joined? What are you fixing with the team?
Yeah.
Like, I think it would be interesting to hear from someone like Chet or whoever ends up being the new 100 Thieves coach, like, coming into the team, what are the problems that you see? What are you actively trying to fix? But also, because there needs to be some, like, amount of information for people in the community to actually know what to talk about or what's going on.
When we were talking with 100 Thieves, though, when we talked to Ethan and when we talked to Hiko and when we talked to Boy, they were talking about Boy more than I mean, in an analyst role as well. More than they were talking about Frost. I've never heard the 100 Thieves players even discuss what Frost has added to the team. Normally, when players don't talk about their coach, they're not doing a huge amount for them. Like, if a coach is doing a lot for you, the players tend to talk about it. If you get radio silence, it doesn't mean they're bad, but it probably means they're not amazing. That's how I tend to think about things. Would someone else pick him up though? Yeah, probably, because there's not that many people who have coaching experience in Valorant, so I could see Frost just bopping onto somewhere else. I think the more interesting move from this though is actually Nitro, right? Like that's the juicy piece of information that George Geddes has reported on here. That Nitro is considering a move back to CS, and I believe if we click on this, the link here from George Geddes on Upcomer, I think that this was saying that he has the potential maybe to be moving back to play for Liquid in CS:GO. Who are currently, the rumor is that Fallen and Stewie are leaving the team, if I recall correctly. And there's also, apparently I was digging into this, apparently there's rumors of like a Brazilian super team forming, that Fallen would be involved with. Yeah,
wrong game, by the way.
Yeah, in CS.
Nothing I'm getting excited about.
And it doesn't really make sense for Fallen to transition to Valorant for a Brazilian team. Like, that would be very weird because the salaries are not there and the scene isn't developed and they've had zero success. So that would be very bizarre. Right now, and Stewie's been like, has like a tweet where he was tweeting CSGO is way better than Valorant, and then he had a Twitch clip where he was talking about just saying how new and young the Valorant scene is. Like,
I've seen so many of those, and it's just the engagement farm.
Sure, yeah.
CSGO player tweets something about Valorant. 3 impressions.
Starting from Nitro's POV though, Balla, do you think this would be a good move for Nitro himself?
I'm not sure. I didn't watch him when he was like at the end of his CS career, so I'm not sure. He did pick up IGLing back in this game at the end of this, which would be good because he did that in CS as well, and opping as well. I don't know. I think it'd be a parallel thing. It's not like his skill is going to lose itself when he goes back to CS or stays in Valorant. You know, he's still going to be as good as he probably was. And I know he's always been playing CS in his downtime too. So I don't know.
It feels like one of the things you'd have to weigh up is that CSGO just absolutely smashed viewership records with their most recent major as well. Obviously, it's the first major since the world's been allowed to have live audiences. Yeah. So that's got to be part of it. But and also they were allowing co-streaming, I think.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, which was huge for it. But they more than doubled the previous record for viewership in CS. I think it went from like 1.3 to 2.6, something around there in terms of million viewers. So I mean, that is crushing viewership. Yeah, that's incredibly good. Do you think that tips the scales a little if he's considering between 100 Thieves in Valorant and Liquid in CS?
I don't know. That's tough because you're also just playing. I mean, I don't know. If you're going there because of the viewership, that would lead me to believe that you have the clout in mind a little bit. Which being on 100 Thieves is also kind of good for the viewership and getting your own numbers up if that's something he's looking for. That seems like more of a he just wants to play CS kind of move.
Yeah,
I think.
My thing is that I don't think that he's going to be able to pull like a crazy contract like some of the other big top players are in CS right now, just because he spent so much time in Valorant. Like, I think that devalues that immediate like, holy shit, I'm gaining a lot just by switching because this game is more developed, right? So he's clearly more interested in the short term rather than banking on the potential of Valorant, which still hasn't been realized, not even close to the level that CS has obviously been able to go on that potential. So
it also strikes me that Nitro would be able to, if Liquid were interested in having him re-signed to CS, that would be a fantastic opportunity to just renegotiate your contract for 100 Thieves and make it way higher. Because they will want to hold on to him. He's an IGL. He's an incredibly talented player. And it's not like he would have to shop around in Valorant for opportunities. He could literally get an opportunity in CS right now if he just left. Yeah. So if he's in the middle of contract renegotiation right now, he could just play both sides against each other and just have them fucking just essentially auction against each other for him and just see whatever the highest bidder was. I know that's what I would do.
I mean, Well, what do you guys think the implications are for 100 Thieves, the team, if he's gone? Because I think he certainly may be the best controller player in the world, Nitro.
I think he is. Yeah.
So they're losing that. They have Ethan as well, who was a very good controller that we
Ethan
never really saw.
Playing controller for
we never really saw Ethan play Astra though, and Nitro's Astra was really damn good. And it's a shame we only got to see so little of it, honestly. And And honestly, I think it's probably a shame for 100 Thieves that they didn't switch over to him playing more Astra earlier, unless it just took him that long to get that good, which is a possibility too. But
I think if Nitro leaves this team, they need to fully rebuild only around Ethan and Asuna. I think you've got too many... You don't have the core of the team anymore if Nitro leaves, and trying to plug in another position that plays Nitro's role and IGL's, and you're trying to insert either Boy or Seven into the roster as well, I think it all becomes too much of a mess. I think it would be easier to start fresh with that duo of Ethan and Asuna, whether it's as the 1-2 punch of like whatever it is, like the entry and the sky or whatever, or whether Ethan transitions into playing a different role. But it feels like if Nitro does leave, the team is fucked and they need to start again with a small duo and just build out again from there. I think the current project as it looks without Nitro looks very poor. If you look at the roster on paper and you have Ethan Asuna and then you have, I guess, Boy and Seven and Hiko. That doesn't look like a roster that's going to do anything.
There's no way that's going to be the final roster.
Well, no, it wouldn't.
Right. But yeah, point understood. Yeah, I mean, the critical first question is, who's going to lead this team? Because they had Steel, they no longer have Steel, and the Nitro is doing it. And if they no longer have Nitro, that is a very, very tough position to fill. And I don't know who you could even... I don't know where you would begin with trying to find someone to do it at this high of a level for a team that's vying for one of the spots on each international tournament.
I wonder what the relationship is with Steel right now. Like whether they... you obviously don't try to burn bridges, but whether it was an interpersonal dynamic that wanted to shift.
Yeah.
If it was Nitro himself that felt very confident that he could take over and lead the team in a better way, and that pushed Steel out, but they all remained very friendly with each other, then maybe if Nitro did leave, Steel would come back in, maybe even in a different role, and would find success there again. Other than that, there aren't IGLs available.
There's no one of the not just IGLs, but also the caliber of player. The caliber of player that Nitro was either, I think, is the other thing too. It's just like you'd have to not only find the IGL, but also a caliber of player that was Nitro's caliber too. So it would be like a really long process to find that. So if any of these, and also it feels at the end of the day, we're looking at like motivations, but I think Wyatt hit on the head that if this comes to pass, it's literally has just because Nitro wants to go back to CS. Like, it's literally just that simple. It's like he wants to play CS again. He enjoys CS more. That's really all there is to it. Maybe the major, like, was the catalyst, but, like, that's really all there is to it. Like, there's even potentially, like, there's some of the motives of, like, Nitro wanted some stability so he could have a baby, not have to travel, and then he could go back to CS, right? Like, theoretically, like, there are a lot of, like, reasons for why, like, he just maybe took a temporary hiatus if that's what really happened.
Number one is definitely like if he goes to CS, especially if he goes to Liquid, he's going to be traveling. Yeah, CS is just a travel game. Exactly. So yeah, I don't. Maybe this is just me trying to cope, but I find it really hard to believe that he just likes and wants to go back to CS. Like just like if it was that and no other factors, I find that hard to believe for some reason. Because there's so much more potential in this game, right?
Not the current state more, of ACS.
But there is potential, and CS is not. The potential is already out, right? You know what you're going to get when you play CS. Maybe that's not true, but either way, like I just find it hard to believe because I just thought that it was going to be the other way around. I thought it was just going to be a fuck ton of CS players coming after the major, no matter what the result of it was.
Yeah, I think this would be a weird move because when you view the ecosystems in particular, like. The major popped the fuck off, but it was popping them off with there was no real North American elements behind it, like no strong North American elements. I feel it was much more like European focused, and I don't know. I think, and when you look at the current state of NACS and how organizations in North America feel about Counter-Strike on average, it doesn't really make a lot of logistical sense in terms of like being a North American player and wanting to go back. It just doesn't. Like, in fact, Liquid feels like the only current North American org that has any sort of vested interest in continuing like to put real commitment into CS. So I guess AG a little bit, but like still, it's like I just don't see how it makes a lot of logical sense other than like maybe he's trying to drum up these things to like get him a better negotiating power, because like it just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. I think CS is still going to be like a powerhouse in the regions that it's a powerhouse, but North America, the organizational side of it, when everyone looks at Counter-Strike, they see a game you can't monetize in rosters that are prohibitively expensive and it's an old game too. So that's like the current overall feel of orgs and CS in North America. So it just doesn't really make a lot of sense wholesale.
Yeah, and it may well just be that it's you know, good negotiating tactic,
or just a flight
drumming
of
up the conversation, and then
he might have just been inquiring and then decided, oh, actually, this doesn't make sense. You know, it's an ongoing story as well. It was just that he may and was considering moving back to CS. It's not, George Geddes is not reporting that he is moving to CS. We're just theory crafting if he did. One of the moves that we missed last week, actually, was TSM releasing Hazed.
I think it was the classic gets announced while the show is airing.
Yeah, I think it was.
Moment.
And Hazed has moved to NRG. Hazed has clarified that it was TSM who released him. And TSM have since been posting tweets and hints about a new 5 that they've locked down and the fact that everyone feels very excited about it, etc., etc. I do think that this made a lot of sense for both parties, actually. I think Hazed to NRG makes sense because I think he can do some serious work there as somebody who's doesn't look like they're able to IGL at the elite level to still be able to keep a team hyper competitive in all of the top tournaments. But Hazed was still a pretty good IGL and a pretty good player, and that's what NRG seems like they needed, just from a cursory glance. And also, I don't think TSM were getting anywhere with Hazed staying on the roster. I think it was a matter of time, and it had been for almost a year at this point, actually, since we were saying they need to start thinking about roster moves and shipping Cutler and Hazed away. At least that was my opinion about a year ago from now.
Yeah, I mean, I think the main question for me is as far as the IGLing goes, because as far as I remember on TSM, it was the carousel of IGLs. It was just always bouncing back and forth. They never seemed to find the one true IGL of the team that could lead them. And that also seems to be an issue, or had been an issue, with NRG. So will the desire of Hazed to be the IGL for that team last? I guess that's kind of one question I have in mind. And if it doesn't, are they going to then be on the IGL carousel as well? Because it seems like, at least from the tweets and the hints, that TSM, that's exactly the problem that they were looking to solve, and why they opted to get rid of Hazed, even though I know that they respect Hazed as a really top player. I remember even like when we were doing those top 20 lists on my stream, like, so I remember, I think someone in my chat told me that Sabrosa was looking at them and wanted Hazed to be on the top 20 NA players list. And that was just around like the Champions last qualifying run. And he was sick during that. And I don't think that's honestly, I don't think that's that crazy for him to be that far outside of it at that time, where on that run, he was critical for the team. And I think them having gotten rid of him leads me to believe that they feel that the IGLing is a huge issue. And if that becomes an issue for NRG, that will just be the continuation of an issue they've had since Daps left the roster. But yeah, I could talk a bit about NRG being in the tournament, but do you guys want to speak on that at all?
I feel like we should talk about the tournament performance. I mean, not a lot of us other than you really had a chance to watch.
Yeah.
Well, before we move on to the tournament performance, though, I wanted to just ask about TSM as well, because I think this is a good opportunity to just talk on some of the rumored rosters and stuff like that, because they said that they were trialing Corey. Then they also said there was a report that they were trialing Tig as well, but apparently the Tig stuff fell through. And so this 5th player, who is presumably an IGL as well, because they said they picked up a fragger and an IGL, the rumors seem to suggest Corey is the fragger, and the IGL, no one really knows. If you had to put your money on it right now, who do you think the 5th player is for TSM? If we're assuming it's like someone we already know would be an IGL.
I don't know if it's based on anything, but the speculation I keep seeing is that it's like either Baby J or Rossi.
Does Baby J IGL? Has he done that before? I don't believe he was doing it for FaZe.
I think, was he? I don't know if he was doing it for FaZe or not, but I don't know. That seems to be the thought that he does.
Oh.
Not sure if true.
I thought he was.
Maybe, yeah, he might have been for FaZe. I don't remember exactly. It seems to switch with so many of these teams so often because there's so few dedicated IGLs. But Rossi seemed to be one of the few young guys coming up that was interested in just being a dedicated IGL.
Yeah.
So, you know, perhaps haven't really seen Rossi.
What has Rossi been playing
while.
most recently? Because when I saw him, he was playing
Lord
Smokes.
knows.
He was playing like Astra.
Yeah,
and
I just
stuff.
remember him on like Astra pretty much.
Yeah, which is weird because you would assume if Corey's taking over the flex role and Sabrosa has to move to a different role, I would have assumed Sabrosa would be moving Smokes and they'd be looking to pick up an IGL Sentinel. That's how I would be thinking about things. Now, you don't have to have a dedicated Sentinel role as well. Like, it's possible that, I don't know, the player coming in might be like Rossi and he plays Viper all the time or whatever.
Yeah.
And they play just like double controller a lot. I don't know. But what do you guys think? Balla, is there a name that springs to mind for you that might be a natural fit for TSM?
No, not that's a natural fit. I know a lot of people want to say Steel, but to me that's not a natural fit, and that's why I hesitate to bring him up. I just can't think of any specifics outside of the guys you mentioned, Wyatt, because it's genuinely hard to fit into this team. That's what I always have been thinking. So Sabrosa and Wardell, big personalities, and it's just I mean they don't have the same coach structure as they always have. It's always changing. I think it's genuinely hard to fit in with the team, and I know that a lot of the IGLs in the scene don't have that experience playing with the guys compared to, for example, Hazed going to NRG, who's really good friends with Psalm. You could see that coming kind of a mile away. This one, I don't see any of that with anybody really.
Yeah, unless I don't know, maybe there's someone switching over from CS or something, but.
There was reports of like Rush trying for them for a while, but that seems to clearly have fallen through. So,
yeah, it's interesting though. I am excited to see who the 5 is because that team actually looks pretty decent. If they find a good IGL, like an IGL that actually works, then that team does seem like it's got some potential. Yeah, it just all comes down to who the IGL is because that's
I mean, if
that's a requirement for being good in North American Valorant is having a competent IGL.
The crazy part about like a CS transplant, by the way, is that they would. I think it's a death sentence to try to get a guy who's competent at IGLing in CS to transfer over and immediately try to IGL for your Valorant team. It's just so much different, so much harder.
Yeah, that does seem like a death sentence. I mean, if it was Baby J, if he was succeeding at IGLing and that's who they had on the Sentinel role, and with how he's been performing, that sounds pretty sick. Just the little TSM and FaZe merger. And then
that'd be cool.
And then they have Leviathan there as well.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like it would be pretty cool if that ends up being the case.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I'm excited to see. I mean, I'm interested to see who they announce. They also still have an enormous fan base as well that have kept through all of this time of their team being really bad. And they're ready to rise again. I don't know what the TSM slogan is. Have they got a slogan?
I don't know.
Any slogan?
I don't remember.
Did they just chant TSM? It's a fucking boring organization.
I think so.
All right.
But I think
NRG then. How did they
be a cool team though? Oh, NRG. Yeah,
I thought they do well. Or like not that well.
Is it
they did okay.
Is it fair to say they were the favorites for the tournament? Because I thought they were favorites, but I don't know the tier 2 scene as well as I'd like.
They're one of the teams that you would expect to make it to the top, but they're definitely not a favorite to win, but they were a favorite to make it deep.
Right.
Or you would expect. I mean, they have a sick roster, but last we saw them in the qualifier, we didn't see them because they got knocked out by tier 2 teams that we thought that they could just outskill, but they didn't. And they never made it to any stage where we actually got to watch them. And that was the roster where their 5th was Weeded, who was now replaced by Hazed, and then Weeded went on to beat them and win this tournament with Pioneers, and he was playing very well. Yeah, they did get knocked out by Pioneers. They had some close games before that, some not so close games where they just were activated because they have sick players on the team, and they just crushed some of the teams with crazy skill and really good team play, just as far as like trading and stuff.
The only
that kind of team play. But
the only stuff I saw from NRG was when they played against a crew.
Yeah. And a crew made the 13 round in a row comeback.
Yeah, they were down a crew were down 1-12 and beat them 14-12.
Yep.
And then the next map, they ninja diffused against NRG as well. And NRG were just running around on Icebox like headless chickens.
Yeah.
So I was very, very concerned when I saw those maps and then didn't watch any further. So I have a very skewed bad feel about NRG, perhaps.
They had a couple bad maps. They had a couple crazy good maps. I think like specifically, might have been like the first 2 days where they were just just rolling. I mean, it was just where you get to see some of the, I think the best thing for them right now is that the roles make way more sense. And I mean, I guess now at the very least, they can just boom these tier 2 teams with skill, which it was surprising that they weren't able to do before. But with Sam on Jett, who was just rolling these teams, and Tex back on a secondary duelist / playing KO role, he's way better on that than he was when he was playing Jett. The roles make sense. They were booming teams. They have crazy skill. We're kind of back in that place with NRG, I think, again, where it's, okay, we're out of that low period from the last Challengers Qualifier 3, where they just were eliminated and we never watched them. I feel like we're kind of back to where we were before now. The roles make sense. They have crazy players. Will it come together? I think we're back there. And
on the other side of things, the team that actually ended up winning this event was KCP, the Kansas City Pioneers, who just got jcStani, who had previously been with Anbox on a pretty failed experiment with them, actually, compared to our expectations, because Stani seemed like one of the players that would, if it was successful, heavily rise up through the scene, because he's one of the players that was willing to some degree to IGL. He didn't enjoy doing it. He preferred being the secondary player, but it felt like that was a possibility for them. But then that project with Anbox completely fell through, and now he's joined Pioneers, who just won this tournament. How good did they look?
And is IGLing with them.
Oh, right.
And it seems like the rest of the players got signed as well after this. Like, Thief is getting signed. And they've been playing with these players for a bit now, but it seems like the contracts have finally hit the Gmails, then they're signing them. They look good. I mean, it's a pretty cool team. They've kind of just assembled a bunch of the good players who couldn't find a home, and they have now come together for KCP. And then they just have a couple of the players from the KCP past, like JMO is still on the team playing Jett and Sage on some of the maps. And it's a good roster. I mean, you kind of get what you expect, right? Like you have Thief playing Reyna, and they have JMO on Jett, and jcStani's playing a really effective Astra. You kind of know what you're going to expect when you see that kind of comp from those players, as far as it being a pretty loose team. Critical was looking really good with them as well. I mean, they have a good roster. They play a loose style. Thief is still pretty cracked out. You kind of get what you expect from them. But I think they've just done a good job getting, I don't know if it's like who's leading this team or if it's the Pioneers themselves, but whoever has been behind the scenes getting these free agent players together have done a pretty great job. Because having Critical, who was, accused of cheating by Ninja, and getting him, and getting like Stani, Thief, like these are a bunch of good free agent players, and getting them together on one team, just good roster building, honestly. So whoever was able to put that together,
it says Fraud
definitely
is the
some
coach.
credit deserved there. Yeah, Fraud is the coach actually as well. I don't know if it was Fraud. I'm not sure who put it together, but a lot of credit to them for getting a good team together. I think it's just a matter of how much maybe depth they will have as time goes on, especially on some of the maps where it is kind of just the Thief Reyna show to some extent, which can be cool, but will have its drawbacks as teams are more concerned about playing against KCP in some of these tournaments. You know what I mean? Cool team though.
Interesting.
It's good to
It's
see
nice
them
to see
follow up off
jcStani get success. Well, I think to get some success, because I think we've been following this guy's career for a while, and I thought he was a Chad always. I always thought this guy was a straight Chad. So I'm glad that he's getting a little bit of success here, and hopefully continue that with the Pioneers.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he was playing really well. And also, I mean, it was cool to see Wyatt on this team just popping off. He was playing so well, especially on Killjoy, which I don't think he's played that much Killjoy in the past, at least not much that I remember, or if he was, it wasn't notable.
D tier agent,
but yeah, you made a D tier agent look like an A tier agent. I'll tell you that. We was excellent. I mean, they have a great roster. They really put something together. So whoever did that, whoever pulled the strings, hey, good job.
Okay, pretty good. One of the other reports that came out this week was George Geddes again reporting that T1 are in discussion with Steel. So Steel may end up joining T1. I was gonna try and say their full name, but I don't think T1 have a full name. It's not like
Team 1.
Thermopylae 1 or something. That's not the name of the team, right? It's just T1.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? It was before. It was SK Telecom.
Oh, right. So it would be Telecom 1, I guess. All right. Well, anyway, they're in discussion with Steel. They already have a bunch of players still signed. I was talking about this on my stream recently, and I kind of forgot how many players are still apparently signed to T1. They still have Skadoodle. They still have Sire Player.
Yeah.
They still have Automatic. They still have Curry.
They signed Twyfo.
They signed Twyfo, and then they've also got. So if they get Steel, that's a 6-person roster, and they've got overlaps all over the place. Some people you wouldn't want to hold on to. It's a very weird project, but I assume one of the reasons they've held on to players is because they're assuming other organizations would be interested, or they just want to keep their options open as they go throughout the kind of off-season portion of VCT. What do you think about the idea of Steel fitting into this team? Balla, you said earlier that Steel is not a natural fit to TSM. Do you think he's a natural fit to T1?
It's kind of, because he's played with Skadoodle in the past, and I know like Automatic was a top CS player when he was also playing CS, so maybe they have some chemistry from just like pugging and stuff back then. But I thought that Skadoodle and him weren't friends after the whole IV Power thing. But either way, like it makes more sense probably than TSM right off the bat. The only problem is that the roles are so much crazier than what it would be if you went to TSM. So that's why I say even more though.
Yeah, the roles are all over the place, because Twyfo, you've got to imagine, is playing Sentinel for this team. And so Steel, if he came in, I would imagine is going for a role swap and IGLing from a different position. Who are they even keeping? Because I would consider the core of this team, really, if you were looking to hold on to people, to be Curry and Automatic.
You gotta keep them.
But
and then
I would be open to rebuilding from there, to be honest. I mean, Sire Player being reintroduced back in is unusual. Skadoodle never impressed me since he moved off Jett, to be honest. All of his supporting roles, I think, have been pretty weak. What do you guys think would even be a good place to begin trying to build this roster out, or roles, or anything?
Well, it depends on where Steel also, if they theoretically were to get Steel, what his role would be for this team, and then where do you build from there, right? Because, I mean, there's been some evidence that he's been doing a lot of, you can never take the ranked experience too, but he's been grinding a lot of smokes and like Sova. He's grinding both those roles. So like, who knows what that means for like, if he's looking to role swap or if he's looking to continue and stay in like a Sentinel role. But I think I agree with your assessment that Skadoodle on anything not Jett is probably not necessarily a 100% keep. But I feel like the organization really likes Skadoodle and likes his like work ethic and like how he's able to flex for the team. So I don't know if they'd be particularly interested to get rid of him. And I don't think at this point, I feel like the Spider experiment, they have not found a role yet that still they're comfortable keeping him on the whole time, like ever.
Yeah.
They just haven't found anything. So there's still like a lot of so I feel like, are we basing this rebuild on they get Steel or they don't get Steel?
Well, if you assume that they got him, let's assume that Steel is going, and this discussion ends up being positive for both parties. So Steel comes in, presumably picks up a different role. Let's assume it's a Smoke or a Sova, because I don't think he's going to be IGLing from the duelist role. I think that would be kind of batshit crazy. Do you want to keep Automatic and Curry playing that like duelist kind of position for your team? I think that makes the most sense. Automatic was playing really well as that kind of tip of the spear for T1, and Curry looked pretty good in his newer position. I'm kind of sad that we aren't going to see the continuation of the Curry IGL experiment as well, to be honest, because that was an IGL that looked like he had the right ideas, at least, for how T1 wanted to play, but seemed limited with the pieces he was working with. And Steel coming in is almost certainly just going to take the IGL away from Curry.
Yeah.
So, but Curry was getting good value playing kind of the flex role for the team. So that would be where I would start. Automatic and Curry. And then Thwifo and Sentinel. And then someone's got to play Smokes and someone's got to play Sova. I'm not convinced who should do either of those.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, perhaps then it's just the Steel, Smokes, and Skadoodle playing Sova, Sky, etc. Maybe. I mean, I don't
love that. Though,
I don't think. I mean, I can't imagine that Spider is going to be on the team, and I don't think that would be a good idea. I don't think he ever really fit in on the team, and I think it's probably best for both parties if he just goes to a new team and has a career elsewhere. Yeah, I don't know. Curry is a flexible player, and yeah, Automatic's Jett was starting to get really good. His Raze was good as well. Kind of want to keep him there.
Yeah.
See how good he can get. It's
purely from the IGL aspect. I think it's actually like a really good idea to have Steel like lead a team with Curry, who's clearly has a little bit of IGLing chops, but is a young player who can learn and add some structure to Automatic and Skadoodle. Like just in general, I think that's not bad whatsoever. Thwifos too is very young, and he also has a little bit of IGL experience from XSET too. So that could end up becoming something where he can really work and mentor those guys to become very good players more than just, you know, decent, whatever.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I hadn't really thought about it like that, but that's absolutely the case sometimes. Would you have more faith in Skadoodle under Steel, Balla?
I don't know. We haven't watched T1 in so long that it's really hard to say anything, but yeah, I guess so. Back in the days, like there wasn't any specific, like there wasn't anything that they were shooting towards where you could see like, oh, Skadoodle's getting a lot of value because of the strat that they're running or something like that. And with Curry, who was a new IGL, you could see that they were very stagnant in certain situations. So I'm guessing that it wasn't, you know, him working with Skadoodle to get anything crazy. Although I'm less down on Ska for his supportive roles than you guys are, because I actually really liked his Sky when he was playing it at the beginning of the Sky meta. But either way, like, yeah, Steel for sure will get more value. I mean, Steel's a great IGL. Like, he's fantastic. So yeah, 100%. Compared to the last two, where Days clearly had problems and Curry's just new, right? Yeah. You 100% are going to get extra value out of all of your players if you bring in a good IGL like Steel.
I am interested to see the development of T1 and TSM, just because there's so many questions about how to solve the situation that they find themselves in. T1 have too many options almost, and could go in many different directions, and TSM are lacking this mythical beast that is the diamond in the rough IGL, which apparently they've found, and I'm interested in seeing who it is.
What if Nitro goes to TSM?
Nitro to TSM?
What if he just does that?
Yeah, sure. That could happen, of course. I want to move on to an absolute collapse that's happened over in Korea, because NUTURN have also no longer got Hyeoni or Solo on the team. Solo has announced he's moving into a coaching role, though he didn't say what team it was for, which might be because NUTURN themselves aren't sticking around. We'll have to see, because they've also dropped Hyeoni, presumably, although maybe Hyeoni left because they just said they'd parted ways or said goodbye or something generic like that. And now the team only has Perry, who, I mean, Perry was good. Perry was pretty stable and a good player, but that's nothing to rebuild around. That's a single person. So what the fuck is going on here? They were the second best team, at some point, the best team in Korea, and they've just imploded.
Seems like they I don't know, after the latest run in LCQ that went south, and then Allow and Suggest get removed, and then I don't know, it seems like there was a hopeless kind of environment that they were existing in. Like they're maybe I'm sure maybe they didn't, but I feel like maybe they were trying some players after that, but there was just nothing. It felt like it was just doomed at that point, and the project was just over. And at that point, Solo just felt it was time to retire. I would still like to see Hyeoni on another team, and a team that could maybe use him more effectively. Not could, but would use him more effectively. That would be certainly ideal.
It's hard talking about career, honestly, because when you look at a player like Hyeoni, He's had one opportunity on his former team to play against a top team. He did really well. Yep. And then he was crushing like tier 3 teams. But Korea is basically a tiny, tiny amount of decent teams, and then a bunch of like teams that are just nowhere near that level. And so you never even get a good idea of who's good. You just don't even know effectively. And now with NUTURN gone as well, there's no competition at the top. It's not like these guys have all disappeared in order to form another super team. Which org? Like who? Who is investing in Korean Valorant that is going to pick up all of these players and form a super team? It doesn't feel like that is an opportunity. If this happened, if a team like NUTURN exploded in any other scene, in any other region, we'd be like, oh shit, boys, they're getting together for some kind of super team. This is interesting. In Korea, it's like, no, it's fucking gone.
Brazil, we're waiting.
Well, yeah. But even in Brazil, if like one of the top Brazilian teams exploded, we'd be like, oh god, there's so many cool free agents. There's so many cool free agents that they could try and build a cool team out of. I have no confidence that any org is going to invest in Korean Valorant because it just doesn't seem like an exciting prospect when you consider all of the other esports that you could be investing your time and your money and resources into. It needs some fucking CPR right now by the look of it. It's not like the teams are bad either. Like Vision Strikers are a good team. There is potential to make a good team.
Try to make a good team though. Like literally all the players that you're going to think of are all like Jett players, and that's pretty much it. Like you think RB, you think or not RB, sorry. You think Hyeoni, you think who just left from Allow from NUTURN as well. Like there's a lot of role overlap in terms of the star players. Like there's sold that, like you could just list every top player that you're thinking of. Maybe that's a problem with the game, but also just a problem in Korea in general is that there's breach players and there's Jett players. And that's
there's Lakia, Pepe laugh. There's Lakia.
I mean there's Lakia. Also, F4Q recently sang their swan song, didn't they? So there's Esperanza and Zunba, who looked pretty stable and good, and maybe, with really good pieces around them, not 5K and Bunny, who are more like Mimi players. But if you attach some really good talent to a core of Esperanza and Zunba, and then who would you have as that like fifth player? I don't fucking know. I mean, Vision Strikers essentially put 5 Jett players together and just told them to play different roles anyway, and that worked. So there's got to be some ability for people to swap roles and find some level of success.
No, for sure there is. I'm just like, I think a lot of the top talent is so locked up in Vision Strikers that that is the super team, and that is the one team, and that's why I hated so much when Lakia moved over to Vision Strikers, because I genuinely thought that this type of thing was going to happen where NUTURN would die because of it. And I don't think that's the reason. I don't think I was right about that. I personally think that Solo and who was it? Perry? Was Perry also one of the guys after Reykjavik? They're like, oh, we're probably going to retire.
Yes, yeah.
I think that kills the team right there. Like,
that was so bizarre. And then they played for another stage, and the players that they brought in didn't even replace those players. They added Hyeoni to the team, and they didn't replace Solo or Perry. I mean, it's like textbook bad management of a roster. But I don't know.
Maybe bad management, but also maybe just there's nobody there to take, right? Like they clearly went and found 2 players.
Yeah.
But only after Hyeoni beat them, It's like maybe there's not the structure in general in the scene over in Korea. I don't know. I'm speaking out of my ass. I'm sure the guys who really, really breathe the scene will speak differently. Although I did watch that tournament that just happened this weekend. It was more like there was like a Vision Strikers like academy roster type players playing with the mix. But yeah, there's some really talented players. They're just not in the right places, and there's also some weird decisions going on with some of the good teams too.
I find this to be very worrying just for the future of the game in Korea, because if you have one dominant team and nobody that's even close, I mean, who's the second best team in Korea right now? I don't know.
Damwon?
DWG, and they're so far away from
destroyed.
Vision Strikers. They're so far away. I mean, they're not even close. What kind of pathway do you have as a Korean aspiring Valorant pro? You've essentially got nothing. You're looking at amateur teams then even if they're going to give you a salary, you have to get into like the top 3 or top 4 team to get a salary.
I mean, genuinely go to Japan.
Yeah, you go to Japan.
Go to Japan.
That's what people in my chat were telling me, that apparently some people come into my chat that I think speak or understand Korean, and so they watch some of the Korean players' streams, and they said I can't remember the name of the player, but somebody had posted on social media that they weren't playing next year in Korean VCT. And they said the assumption there was that they were going to Japanese VCT instead. Not that they were leaving the game, but that they were going to be more good Korean players in Japan next year than there were in Korea. That's insanity. That's a badly functioning regional system.
It is insanity.
And it's not like Riot haven't tried.
That viewership.
Yeah,
Riot,
I don't think
Riot have been giving it fucking just injections of finances to the Korean orgs, right? It's just, it feels like they didn't do a good enough job at the beginning of marketing it to the wider audience, perhaps, and they just missed their opportunity.
It could also just be like, on top of that, there's just an issue where at the end of the day, like, it could be a tech issue on top of the marketing issue, where when it first rolled out, their tech caused issues with the PC banks.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And like, that's just a distinctly Korea/Asia problem of, you need to be able to thrive on the PC banks to capture a market that's going to game there. And to me, that's not a marketing issue. I mean, you could argue maybe that's part of their marketing, is like, you need to be able to hit the PC bangs, but it's like, that's just a really poor regional localization issue of like not having that prepped to go onto PC bangs.
Yeah.
If you're going to try to capture that market, I don't think at this point, I don't know anything else that Riot can do that's not outright just burning cash to put Korea in a better spot, you know?
Yeah.
Like, there's just nothing else that you can do. They've given them tons of things.
I wonder if the LAN stuff hurt them significantly. Like, I didn't think about this before, but they have been holding LANs the entire time in VCT and even First Strike through COVID, right? Yeah. Like the entire time, and that forces players to be local to Seoul or travel, and that seems like a very, very big deal, especially when it's on the player's own logistical side. We've talked about that in the past, but I'm wondering if that played a bigger role than we even thought.
But also, that was the same case in Overwatch. When they started Korean Overwatch, you had to be able to go to a place to play the qualifier to get into the Korean Overwatch LAN that was happening at the time. And they still had huge amounts of sign-up, huge amounts of interest straight off the bat. So I think even when you apply the filter of you must be able to go to LAN in order to play in Korean VCT, that's normally not a strict enough filter to kill the game, or at least a game. It's not normally that strict, because a huge amount of the Korean population lives in Seoul anyway, lives within traveling distance, is comfortable with the idea of going to LAN and understands it. Maybe it being COVID was an additional pressure, but I don't think that's single-handedly going to make the difference, but maybe just as a contributing factor. It's very sad, though, either way. I want to move on to the next topic, though, which was that there was a rumor leaked from somewhere that I saw on Reddit. So there was going to be... Where was it from? Sorry?
The Brazilian, there was some Brazilian... It's a unknown place that it got leaked from, but there was a meeting in Brazil with Riot and orgs or TLs or something like that, with stakeholders over there about the esports scene. And there's a PowerPoint presentation that slides got leaked from.
And some slides got leaked indicating that there would be a skin for Valorant Champions. And I mean, a lot of different games have approached this in different ways. Overwatch has a skin for the MVP that wins it at the end, or they previously did. They have a skin for the team that wins. Some games like Dota, for example, being a very famous example of this, have some kind of battle pass or whatever that they release, and then a portion of it, I think it's 25% of the proceeds, go towards the prize pool, which is how TI always has these insanely big prize pools for the tournament. We don't know what the kind of situation would be like, and this is insanely vague. I mean, you couldn't get a more vague PowerPoint slide if you tried.
What a leak. What is even going on there?
Who knows? But it'd be a cool idea.
Well, I did see, I don't want to just, God forbid I blow smoke on this podcast and just say something incorrect.
Never happened before.
But I believe I saw something about watching Champions. You can get an in-game banner.
No, yeah, that's true. That was leaked today, like because of the patch.
Yep. Right, once again.
So that might be what this means. I mean, it's possible that they said skin when they meant banner or something like that. Or maybe it's just part of a rollout where you
maybe
get a skin
later
for
there
watching.
will be a skin for watching or a special, maybe it might just even be a skin in the store that's about Champions. Or
How would you like to
Champions.
see them implement it? Because there are a lot of different options, right? Like I've said, there's like you could have a skin for the winning team. You could have a skin that you have to buy, but it kind of cross-promotes Champions. You could have a skin that you get for watching. You could have a skin and the proceeds, some of that goes towards Champions in some way. What do you think is your ideal method? What do you like the most that's been done in other games?
Drops.
But also the TI method. What is it? What's it called? Like the
Compendium.
Compendium. I think a champs compendium would be fucking sick, where they have a skin pack and that gives you all sorts of variety of things, and then also it directly it can even directly go towards charity. It could go towards the prize pool. Like compendium is so fucking dope because you literally pay for something while also supporting the esports scene at the same time. And if it's a good product, people will buy it. People will buy it. And the monetization is so good in Valorant currently, and their skin packs are already doing so well that I think this is like they have literally primed it. I am Michael Burry in The Big Short. I'm seeing the housing collapse about to occur. I see the patterns. It's right there. Compendium. Put it out
You're in the same type of office, dude.
Yeah. Same office, same haircut.
Same office, same mad bosses. Let's just go. Let's do it. Let's go for
it. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good idea. I mean, I don't mind the simple stuff like the banner and that kind of thing for watching. I like the immortalization of the players in the game in some capacity. Yeah. I think that's cool. And
they currently give them a banner and a
title.
Gun buddy.
Yeah, gun buddy and a title, right? So the title says you won Masters or whatever. Presumably it would say Champions. Then you get a gun buddy as well.
Yeah.
Not very visible, but the gun buddy is. Like if you know,
I think
someone, you pick up their weapon.
Eventually there should be like I would like to see eventually like gun buddies of just the org logos or things like that.
Franchising
in the future.
100% that will happen.
Yeah. On a gun buddy, let's go.
Yeah. I mean, that seems like that seems kind of like an inevitable future that stuff like that will be in the game. But yeah, I think like a general skin pack that is just the Champions skins and they look cool, but it also advertises Champions, but it's the Champions skin set. I think that's cool.
That. I think that's like, sure, we could support the esports directly or something like that.
Yeah.
But I want org support. I want to know exactly directly. Like I want to support this team or I want to support this player or something like that. I think that would be
like the gun buddy type thing, right?
Riot Games to support our esport. You know, like there's a possibility of adding it to the prize pool, but I actually think that's a terrible idea because you end up in positions where nobody wants to watch anything that's not $40 million prize pool because half of it is funded by the community.
I think that's a very real problem as well that Dota has absolutely run into. People only care about TI.
Even Fortnite, for example, too. I mean, nobody gives a shit when the event doesn't have tons of money involved. And as soon as you cut down, like everybody's like, "Where's my money?" Like, and the great thing about Valorant so far is nobody cares about the prize money. Does anybody know what the Champions prize pool is? Nope.
It's not even released, is it?
Nope. Don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I don't care at all, but I don't really care.
No.
I mean, I don't think that's just not really not really topic. That is a good point.
It is good.
Also, prize pools in esports are like they're not like I don't want to say necessarily antiquated, but like in the realm of like when you have professional players competing in the game, like prize pools, when you think of like larger sports too, like prize pools aren't really ever like an issue. It's like everyone's getting paid so much money. It's more so you're playing to win the big thing, to then gain notoriety and sponsorship deals. And it's not about making the money. So, and like a modern day esports ecosystem, especially when you're dealing with the level of champs, like no one at Champions is going to be like we're not going to have like Brimstone Gaming at Champs. That needs that prize pool to eat.
Well,
it's
actually,
you could with
it's
some of the different regions.
It is
the
possible.
minor region teams really won't be getting paid very much, which
that's true.
It doesn't exist when you're talking about like NA Masters or something, or like NA Challengers Finals, I guess it would be. Yeah, in that situation, yeah, the prize pool doesn't affect anything. But I guess for Champs, it actually can. Even if Vision Strikers won, they're probably the team that has the highest percentage chance of winning for the lowest salary. Like, you know, where that Venn diagram would cross is probably Vision Strikers.
Well, no, you're reading Crazy Raccoon, but that's fine.
Also, like, you probably could make the argument for Gambit too.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
maybe we don't really. Yeah, I guess we're not really familiar.
Yeah,
but I mean, I think in a lot of
that.
cases it is like like as we move further into the esports world, it matters less and less to like the major regions, but more so it does matter for the minor regions.
Yeah. Okay, we're headed to the 2-hour mark, so I want to get into our pre-champions power rankings. This is going to be our final segment for the episode here, which is
we just have to do this too.
And I want to get you all to sign something in your own blood saying you're not going to troll
we're not.
me.
No. We're doing this serious. We're doing this.
Look at me in my eyes.
No trolling.
Look at me in my fucking eyes.
I'm going to give you my.
Look,
I'm going to give you my.
Stop looking at your microphone. Look at me in the eyes.
Josh, don't worry. We literally won't troll this.
We literally won't troll. Yeah. Like I fucking
I can
believe
show you the
anymore.
messages. The messages specifically say, "Yo, Avast, tomorrow we're going to do this segment where we do the agent tier list, but we're going to troll it and not tell Josh." And I said nothing about this power ranking.
Okay, all right.
Nothing
wonderful.
about this power ranking.
Pre-champions power rankings. We have all 16 teams that are turning up to champions, barring any visa issues, which hopefully there won't be any. But team secret.
Why would you say that?
Hey, because it could happen.
Just put it out in there in the open, like bad mojo, man.
That's incredible that you think I have that level of power. If I had that level of power, I'd be fucking people over on the regular, just for spiting me. You guys all trolled me earlier. Visa issue. I'd be firing them out of my fingers. You wouldn't be able to dodge them. Okay, I want to start at number. Well, actually, before we even start at number 1, I want to ask: are we doing this based off evidence, like boring Barrys? Or are we basing this off fucking gut feeling? Yeah.
Well, you can use evidence
because if you only rely on evidence, you can't put Gambit anywhere other than number 1 because they just won the other Masters, and then you're like, it. They're just you know. I feel like there is discussion to be had.
You can factor that in, but again, it's feeling. It's who's winning. Who's winning? Who's getting 10th?
Okay.
Who's your feeling about who's coming in 10th place?
I would like to begin this by nominating the teams which you feel could win the tournament.
Okay.
And then we will order those based on likelihood.
And I'm not trolling. I think if it's teams who could win
if you're
the
about
tournament,
to fucking say
Sentinels.
Okay. Throw Sentinels up there in number 2 for now then, Kurt, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, I can agree. I could at least see that.
Yeah, I could see it. It exists in one of the realities.
Of course they can win. Yes,
Team
100%.
Liquid.
Yeah, yes. I agree with that as well.
Sure.
Here comes his.
I'm waiting for the troll. I'm waiting for the troll.
And that's it. It's only those 3 teams. Because I also think
those are the teams that I believe in. If one of those teams is in the final, I think they will win over any of the other teams not in that top 3. Which is why that's my top 3.
I think Envy should also be in that conversation. I know that their run through the group stage was not particularly exciting, and they only beat domestic talent. But the fact that they did beat those domestic teams, and in such crushing fashion, they didn't drop a map until they got to the finals, right?
Yeah.
I think, given more time, I liked what I saw. They have the talent on the roster. They have all of the pieces they need to be able to win a tournament of this size. Will it come together? I don't know, but they I think, belong in the same conversation as Liquid Gambit Sentinels, as in they've shown they can make it deep before. They theoretically could win a tournament of this size. There's no reason to doubt that they could win it. What do you think? Does Envy belong in the conversation?
I think it's fair. I think it's perfectly fair when you considering how dominant their stage were. And like they have fucking Yay. You know, that guy pounds. That guy literally, and I do feel like when you see how strong their domestic run was, it's unfair to not at least discuss it when you consider how strong that run was.
We can discuss it. I disagree though. I think if you're gonna put Envy in, I think Ascend needs to go like higher than them. Because they've proven that they can actually win. Sure, they can go deep. But I think it's very important. Yeah.
But Ascend also got knocked out in quarters of Berlin, and they haven't won any big tournament. They haven't gone deep in anything that wasn't online. I mean, actually, they just played the finals of a LAN, but it was against Movistar Riders, and that can't be used as data to suggest they're going to be good.
And I'm not trying to. I just think that the Masters 1 is enough for me. Like, that's enough for me to say they won something. And, like, using Wyatt's logic, which I agree with a lot, I think that Envy has a significantly worse chance to win if they were in the finals against any of the teams that would be in here, even against Ascent, for example.
Okay. All right. Well,
I might actually. I think you might have convinced me. I think that if they played in a
if Envy and Ascend played in the finals, I would not be confident in either team. I think
if Ascend made it all the way to a final, I think they've gotten over those. They have gotten over those problems.
They haven't convinced
because that means that they have gotten over those problems enough to the point if they're in a final that they surely will have beaten one of Liquid Sentinels or Gambit on the way through the bracket.
But that's assuming they're in the final. What we're talking about here is also baked in the likelihood of them making a final. Yes. All the teams that we discussed so far are very likely to even make the final. I mean, there's 4 of them, so they can't.
Yeah.
But all of those teams, you would say, yeah, great shot, they're in the final. Ascend are one of those teams you wouldn't actually be pegging as favorites to make the final in the first place.
And I was not arguing for that, by the way. I was arguing against Envy being in that crop of teams that has a good chance of winning.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the crop of teams that have a good chance of winning are just the top 3. And I actually think that this is how I would have my 5 here.
That's even the order right there?
Yes, that is the order, too.
I'd be happy with that. I could see Ascend being swapped with Envy, honestly, when you consider the highs they could take. But I feel like this is a very reasonable top 5.
I would have Liquid higher.
I don't think people are remembering how hard Liquid how much worse they looked at Reykjavik compared to what they demonstrated online. I do agree it's different this time around, but I'm still scared. That team choked so hard. They had a pretty free path to the finals, and they beefed it as hard as you could really beef it for a tier 1 team. They didn't look on the same level as like when they're playing domestically, they should have been on the same level as Fnatic, maybe even a tad ahead of them. And they weren't at all when it came to Reykjavik. It wasn't that Fnatic were playing better. They weren't. Liquid played way worse at that tournament. They lost to a V1 with a sub. I mean, their players crumbled. They've got Yampy IGLing, who has not proven at a top level. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I can't be confident in them being up there. In fact, I'm less confident in them making a deep run almost than I am of Envy repeating it. I think Liquid are a swing team. They could win the whole thing, or they could go out in like semis or quarters. But I'm not confident on them making a deep run. They look sick. I just don't know whether they'll keep it up.
I just think they're even... I think they are so much better than they were then, even online. Even though I know that they won then, but I think EU was pretty kind of weak during that era, retrospectively. Yep. I think the Liquid of now is competing against better teams and playing better than they were then, even though they made it. I mean, I don't think you can doubt that Yampy is so much better of a player now than he was then, even though they still won then online. And that the roster is so much better now than it was then.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with any of that. Liquid are clearly better now than they were at Reykjavik.
I do have a lot of faith in Liquid. And I also have a lot of faith in the Sentinels bounce back.
I've been thinking about this over the last month as well. And the Sentinels bounce back, it's either... We're going to talk about this after Champions, and we're either going to talk about it in one of 2 ways. We're going to say either, of course Sentinels was going to bounce back. It was one bad tournament. They all looked bad. You could see it with your eyes that they looked bad at that tournament. That wasn't normal. They lost to teams they would normally beat. Of course they were going to perform better at Champs. That's one very reasonable outcome. The other is... The writing was on the wall. They beefed it at Berlin. They didn't have the right read on the meta, and they haven't made the right adaptations. This was just the beginning of the end, and they're not a top team, and we should have been off the copium. The problem is there's just no data. You can't make the data. There's no data, there's no evidence to tell you which is the correct path until after Champions. What data is there? I mean, you can't...
Raucus
how do you know?
subs in, wins Berlin. Third path. Raucus subs in. Shazam gets a bad case of food poisoning. I was watching him play some Jett the other day. He comes in, plays Jett over Shazam.
Raucus plays Jett, goes winds it back to the beta days.
Yeah.
But,
and then they win. And they dominate.
Yeah. See, I think I would be... I don't know. I don't think Gambit are going to back-to-back it, though, actually. Honestly.
Yes.
Looking at this, I don't think Gambit are hitting this. They're not doing it. They're not. There's just no way they back-to-back win international
it's really
tournaments.
Unlikely.
There's just no way.
But we're not discussing who is going to win. We're saying who has the highest chance of winning. You've got to think of this kind of like the bookies, right? In terms of how they lay the odds out. Because Gambit are almost certainly not going to win back-to-back. But do they have the highest chance of winning? Maybe. Like, their chance might only be 10%.
So that's what we're doing it off of? Just,
how else can you do it? You've got to do it as like percentage
just trying to rank who's going to win, who's going to get second, who's going to get third.
You can't accurately place who's going to... Like, if you put Ascended fifth, that's not saying they're going to get fifth. They're just... Yeah. Like, you can't make a rankings like that.
Okay.
I think your way to think about it is fine, Josh, but I go with how I feel their strength is. That's it.
Okay, who do you think has the highest percentage chance of success then? Who has the highest chance of winning the tournament in your head if it's not Gambit?
Yeah, no. So that's highest percentage. That's not what I'm thinking of. I'm literally just thinking of, here's the form that they're in. I feel like they're the strongest. So in your answer, I'd say Liquid. I genuinely believe that Liquid is the best form heading into Champs. And it is so far away from what we saw in Reykjavik. Because Reykjavik, I think a lot of people are hype about them because we saw like 3 games where they were like, holy fuck, they're so good, right? But I think that they were overhyped going into Reykjavik, like even in hindsight, for sure. Just because of like a couple of different comps that came out and a good finals against Fnatic, which was a seeding game anyways. Now it's genuinely like things are clicking. Players are improved in such a significant way. The roles that are working are nice, and they have this is the biggest reason in my mind, is that they have a meta reason to be good. They are the only team who's pioneering this double op thing, and it is going to be good at Champions, and it's going to be something that they have to deal with. And I like it specifically because of the way the roles are working. Other teams who would try to do it would not have good success. They have 2 oppers who are not playing Jett roles, and that allows them to not have to focus on their Jett player. It allows them to be much, much, much more flexible in the way that they approach the game.
Yeah. I was doing some VOD reviews of Liquid recently, though, and the amount of retake scenarios they're put into with operators, and yet they somehow skill it
that they win
online. Yeah, they do manage to win them, but I'm worried when they play against better and better competition. Because you've got to think as well, the games that we've seen from Liquid, the only games where we've seen them play against Champions caliber competition, I'm talking like top 5 at Champs, right? Like people we think might win it. We're thinking quarters, semis, finals. The only team we've seen them play against like that is Ascend. That's the only team. And even that was a very close game. So...
Yeah, I mean,
it's not like they haven't...
Hold on. Nobody plays top 5 teams on that regular basis.
No,
like,
they don't.
Outside of Berlin. So like that's really difficult
but
to
say.
But
the other teams did play at Berlin.
They still played good teams though. They played Guild, who looked really, really fucking good, and they played G2, who was at Berlin, right?
Yeah, they played pretty good teams. But I think this is going to be a different test, because there's so many different play styles and so many different people that can take a crack at their answer to the opping, to the double opping at times. Who do you think, but Wyatt? If you're starting to wind back on Gambit, who would you have as your number 1? Are you there?
I mean, the thing is, if it's just by like, if we're going to be, Gambit is like a boring number 1, but I just don't think they're going to win twice in a row. But I think if if we're being bookies, they probably have. I mean, surely going into it, given that they won Berlin.
What's the actual reason for you thinking that they can't go back to back? I think that's more interesting than Like,
the actual reason is that I think it more than other teams and other team styles, I think everybody watching them win and watching them win the way they did it and knowing exactly how Gambit play is going to affect them. I think more than it would affect other teams and having watched their style of play. I think that that's going to be pretty significant. I don't think that, and I'm not reading into too much of the Red Bull tournament in regards to the result, but I do think it's the only thing that I find interesting in that is that they were just playing as different as possible in that brief showing in that event. I just don't. I think that is going to be the biggest problem. I don't think there's been enough time lapsed from Berlin till then for them to do anything significant in regard to changing that will also be confirmed to be good and effective.
I've got a counterpoint for you here, Wyatt, which is, yeah, I understand where you're coming from, and I definitely think it applies, especially to the Nats.
Yeah, when I see every Viper use the Nats fucking thing and bind hookah,
and everyone, and all of the teams were struggling that were struggling with it at Champions have all come up with answers to it because everyone else is trying it. I understand that, and also Nats statistically had the biggest improvement from online to LAN, and he was already nutty online. Yeah, but that some level of that improvement has got to be shut down just by understanding some of the ways in which he plays. But my counterpoint is, Gambit was still able to beat Envy by running around on Haven. And I mean that very seriously, which is that this team is not just structured, disciplined excellence. This team is also a bunch of nutty aimers that can occasionally just run around and fucking own you. Yeah. And so even if they change their style up massively, I still have some confidence that they could find something that really worked just because they're that good as not just as a not just as players, they're that good, but they've been together for so long as a team. I would trust Gambit more than any other team to fundamentally redesign how they play and still find something that works, because we've seen two extremes already from them. We've seen super slow, disciplined play, and we've seen running around like headless bumfucks and still hitting every shot. And so that, to me, indicates they have a bunch of the gray zone between that they could explore and find something that works for them. It didn't at Red Bull home ground, but I'm almost completely dismissing that. Yeah, I would still have Gambit as my number one, but I understand where you're coming from Team Liquid. I think that's very fair, and I do believe that regardless of what I was saying, that Gambit will still place very highly in this tournament. I just don't think that they will be winning, and I do think that. I mean, I might put Liquid at 1 for this. Okay. I think I might have Liquid winning this too. Connor, what do you think then? If it's between Gambit and Liquid, or do you want to throw a third in there? But at the moment, we've got Balla and Wyatt both with Liquid. The only two that are appealing
currently are Gambit and Liquid, honestly, are the only two. Because Sentinels, you could make the argument based off like, oh, it's Sentinels, right? But there is literally no current data to suggest, especially when you take the most recent form, to be like, yes, Sentinels are going to win. You know, but when you take a look at Liquid's most recent form, or the fact that Gambit won the most recent tournament, and also, like he talked about, showed a breadth of styles, even if they were to potentially be counter-stratted and teams were to adjust their playstyles specifically to deal with some of the Nats lurks, to deal with the way that they're setting up, like they're like late game, just like, okay, we're gonna hit the site with like 20 seconds left type of thing. I think that Sentinels is out of the equation. You can't put Envy or Send in there, so it really only leaves Gambit and Liquid. And for me, I don't think, man, it's so hard, because like leading up to Berlin too, Gambit's form was incredible. Leading up to Berlin, like in CIS, it was pretty good. Yeah, it was like I would say it was pretty equivalent to like how we feel about Liquid's form. Like, it was just they were in a smaller region, and we didn't have as much data about them. I mean, even in the EMEA finals, they kind of struggled a little bit at the beginning of like their qualifier games. Remember when they were qualifying, they like had that really close game against
Liquid.
No, but they had a close game even before that as well.
Oh, did they?
Yes, they lost to Ascend, got dropped to the lower bracket. Yeah. Oh, they had a close game against G2 as well. A really close game against G2.
Was that later in the bracket?
That was
after they.
That was
Liquid
just after
was the decider. Yeah, Liquid was the decider game for them to qualify.
Oh, maybe G2 was earlier in the upper or something. They definitely
they played G2 after Liquid.
Right, okay.
So
yeah, they had a close game against
game.
Liquid, then a close game against G2, and then they just kind of blitzed the rest of the tournament.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a pretty fair comparison looking at the form. It's just that the skill of teams is a little different too.
It is different, and also it's assuming that Liquid's current roster is going to be able to accomplish like the same highs that you think Gambit's can, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing is like it feels like, because really when you look at Liquid, it's a very similar roster that they've had for a while. It's just now we've added Nevera, right?
Yeah.
So,
they've added so many different comps and protocols and everything though. They really do look like a team that could win the tournament. I'm not arguing against that.
I really yeah. I
just wouldn't have them
in safety wise, when you look at something that you actually have a recent big win, you look at the depth of them, and you know that they probably will still be fine overall. I think it's safer for me to still put Gambit, but it would be a very likely scenario for Liquid to win. But I feel like I just have to believe in Gambit because Liquid still has yet to just have a big win ever, and like they just need to prove it.
I am okay with that. I didn't think about that in the way that you had posed, and I think that that's very true about what you said about Gambit. I think that was very true. So that I am okay with Gambit in first.
Okay, so
I think no matter which way you cut it, actually, the more I'm thinking about this, I think Gambit and Liquid have to be the top two. I don't know who else I don't think you can put other teams in the top two right now.
I mean, people absolutely will put Envy in the top two because they literally
put Sentinels in the top two as well.
Well, yeah, they might well do.
But
it all comes down to a difference of
Envy just got
of opinion
so
there as
boomed
well.
by Gambit.
Yeah, Envy did get boomed by Gambit. Liquid also got boomed at Reykjavik, and Liquid have not.
Yeah, that was just so much longer ago and a totally different team. So
yeah. Let's move on to talking number 3 then. If we're starting to talk about number 3 through 5 through 6 as well, another team that might poke their head into the conversation is Cloud9 at this point too. They were able to beat LCQ. I mean, it's similar levels of competition to Liquid, though Liquid did recently beat Ascend as well in a different tournament. So I think that adds a lot of extra emphasis to Liquid, rather than the kind of, I'm not going to say fluky run that Cloud9 went on, but a streaky run that Cloud9 went on, where it was very much about form of Leaf and Zephyr on top of the kind of stuff they already had. Who are you looking at for the number 3 slot here? Because the teams that I'm looking at specifically are Envy and maybe even Ascend, actually, with how close they played Liquid and how good their form has looked recently. But I have that same feeling about Ascend as I do about Liquid, where I just don't know if they're going to perform at LAN. True. I feel very confident in Sentinels and Envy performing and getting deep. If I had to place a bet on just a team getting deep, Sentinels, Envy.
I mean, if I had to place a bet on any NA team going deep, it would be Envy for sure. I think it's I'd be very likely that Envy they will make Liquid the top 4. I just don't have confidence in them winning the tournament. Top 4, 100%.
Is that enough to put them into the 3rd position? What do you think, Balla?
No, I'm just not convinced. All the stuff that I said on prior episodes over Sentinels is my argument.
Right.
I just think the Sentinels is a much more, if they play up to the level that they should, a much more flexible team. Envy is pretty flexible too, but I think that they can crumble. And it's just odd. I think that they have that potential to crumble, and it's not necessarily more or less than I feel about Sentinels because I literally have no clue. It's just Sentinels has proved it more often than Envy has.
Okay.
That's it. That's all the argument boils down to.
I would like to put Sentinels in 3rd.
Okay. Connor, what do you think as well? Are you on board for the Sentinels 3rd pick?
I think they were tragic at Berlin, but it was clear they didn't really. When you watch the performance of Berlin, did we think they were a top 4 team necessarily? You know,
Berlin certainly not.
Yeah, but so to me, this argument is being made from pedigree.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So this argument is being made from pedigree.
The thing is, we've made this argument so many times on all the other power rankings. That's why, I'm not revising it. There is no evidence that makes me want to, outside of maybe I look into the Rockets signing and I'm like, oh, that means they're scared of their chances or something like that. But that's bullshit. So
Can I ask you a question though, Balla? Do you think Sentinels have ever played as well as Gambit did to win Berlin, or as well as you currently think Liquid are playing? Do you think Sentinels have ever actually hit that
depends.
peak?
Do I give them like the inflation of
no inflation involved? I mean, I understand when people talk about how good Sentinels are, you always have to compare them to the game at the time because it's so new, right? So Sentinels have been incredible because they've always been able to stay ahead of the competition. I mean, in a literal sense, do you think that Sentinels' game plans, execution, coordination, that kind of stuff has ever been as good?
Inflation? No, I don't think so.
That's where I come as well, and that makes me concerned because it's not just then a return to form; it's having to return and return to where you're at, and then continue to be improving faster than everyone else.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? It doesn't necessarily. They don't have to necessarily play the best game plan, the best comps, the best whatever. They just need to be the best team at the current time. And I think Sentinels has the potential to do that more, like a lot more than some of the other teams, right? They have the potential to peak for them, and that's enough to be better than the best game plans at the tournament, right? I've seen it countless times, like countless times in TAC FPS, countless times in Valorant as well. Like I would argue some of the finals that we've had are because teams are just playing much better individually and fundamentally. That's enough to get them over top of the best game plans, the best strats, the best executes, the best sets, all that shit. Like that doesn't always matter the most, you know?
Yeah, I think with all that in mind, and when I look at the current form of Envy and Ascend, it's like there's no data, so fuck it, put them there. Sentinels, go. Put them up there. Yeah, sure.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll put Sentinels in third. I really do want to fight for Envy though, because I think placing them lower than fourth is quite ridiculous.
Yeah. I think that should be fourth.
I think even having Envy down this low is going to bother the shit out of. I mean, it's quite funny because it will bother Envy because I know that they like to look at these kind of power rankings as well, and their players mauled publicly on Twitter about shit like this, and that's fucking funny to me. But I do think that we're doing Envy a bit dirty here, or at least in my opinion, I would have Envy much higher, or at least at least one place higher, maybe a couple, because they also were a pretty young team at Berlin.
Yeah.
True.
And I think they still have growth.
True.
Whether or not they'll fulfill that can only be seen at Champions. But I think this team is not just a flash in the pan, did well at Berlin and is going to flop. I believe in Ye. I believe in the FNS leadership. I think Marv is a great player. I think Crashies is still the best Sova. I think they've got all the pieces they need to still actually win a tournament like this. They've just got to get over the hurdle of actually winning.
I think they're getting done dirty because we just literally haven't seen them more so than Sentinels. Like Sentinels gets the pedigree ranking, whereas Envy just doesn't because we haven't seen them. If they played an LCQ, for example, they would have the liquid buff where we're just like, holy shit, they're so good potentially, right?
Yep.
Yes. Very, very possible.
Correct.
So we just haven't seen them. We have no clue.
I mean, I am ultra confident in their ability to get to the semis.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be shocked if they didn't finish in the semis in this. I think they're so clearly a top 4 team.
Gambit and Envy are the two teams I have the most confidence in on going deep. I think there's very little chance. Barring some horrible bracket, which it could also happen, but I guess I'm also thinking they did say it's double elimination, which I don't have in my head. Yeah. I don't have that in my head at all. But yeah, I would expect Envy to go very deep. Yep. All right, fifth though. Let's talk fifth. We have kind of narrowed it down to Cloud9 and Ascend already. I guess other teams that may poke their head in there are like Vision Strikers.
I just don't know. What do you even say about Vision Strikers? I just don't. What?
We haven't seen any games.
And even when they were at Berlin, we didn't see any games.
No, we
just didn't see any games.
Yeah, I refuse to put Vision Strikers at 5. No.
But I mean, Vision Strikers did slap Ascend. If we're talking head-to-head matchups, they slapped them.
And they took a map off close. Gambit.
Like, Vision Strikers very well could be the 5th team here. It's just, how do you have any confidence in it when you haven't seen them even play domestically?
It's just such an out of left field. Like, yeah, you could extrapolate that from the limited amount of time that we've seen, but it just feels wrong to put them top 5 still. I know it wouldn't be the most outlandish take by any means, but it just feels like we just haven't seen enough of them.
Argue for me Okay, I'm gonna be Korean fan number 1 right now. Vision Strikers literally beat Ascend. They're the best team in Korea. Korea's always gone deep in tournaments like this. You guys said that you were really impressed with how they actually played, like with the eye test at Berlin. How the fuck are you ranking Ascend or Cloud9 above them?
But I wouldn't put Cloud9 above them though.
I would.
It's interesting that you say that, Superfriend, because you just convinced me.
That's my own internal thoughts right now that make me want to put Vision Strikers in 5th.
I wouldn't put them above Cloud. I wouldn't put them below Cloud9. I know that for certainty.
I think
they would be above Cloud9.
I would like to put Ascend at
5th. Well, then, can you answer the question that Korean fan number 1 would give you there?
Yes. Unfortunately, we haven't seen shit from Vision Strikers for months. And the last we saw them was a game against Gambit where, yes, they did take a map off them, but the other 2 maps that they lost, they were kind of tragic. Individually, they weren't able to keep up on Icebox. Their bind game plan was just, they just ran into a brick wall. And on the 3rd map, Icebox, they didn't show up individually, and I feel like they kind of choked out and lost that game. They had a good showing on Split. Stax was a fucking god. He's one of the best players in the game. He's incredible. I do think Vision Strikers are really good, but we've seen more of Ascend over the past couple months. Ascend, I think, realized that their composure was a problem. They've been playing as many tournaments as possible. They've been getting more experience. They've still stayed consistent at the top. CNET is still in really good form. I've just seen more of them lately. I know that they've been grinding these tournaments, and hopefully within that has been fixing their issues with feeling more comfortable on stage and more composed, not letting the nerves get to them. And I think that we'll see a better Ascend than we did then, which was still, they made it into the top 8.
Do you think,
so I think Ascend should be in 5th right now.
Ascend, when we were looking at them coming into Berlin, were clearly the top dogs in Europe.
Yeah.
They didn't actually win EMEA. That was Gambit. But Ascend had beaten them in the upper bracket, and it was our thoughts that, okay, both of those teams are pretty even, and Ascend have more success over a longer period of time. Probably Ascend are looking a little better than Gambit coming into coming into Berlin, sorry. That's not the case anymore, really. Ascend are looking like the 3rd best team in EMEA, behind Liquid, who they just lost to, and behind Gambit, in all likelihood. Does that not concern you slightly? Like, do you think current Ascend actually looks better than coming into Berlin Ascend? Because I don't think they've made improvements. I think they've made improvements over their Berlin performance.
Yeah.
But if I'm thinking back to how I thought about them coming into Berlin, Challengers Finals, that kind of thing, Challengers 1 and Challengers Finals, I thought that level of Ascend is pretty similar to this level of Ascend. They haven't gotten hugely better like Liquid have.
I would agree, but I think that's enough for 5th. I think that they're just...
That doesn't convince me over Vision Strikers, who literally beat them.
They literally beat them, but I mean, Vision Strikers were amazing in that game, but I don't think that was a good Ascend.
No, I agree with you there. I agree with you again.
So
I think it's tight. Personally, I would fall in favor of Vision Strikers, but I understand the argument for Ascend. I want to check in with the others, though, as well, Wyatt. Connor, where do you fall on this? And Balla as well. I want to hear from both of you. Talk me through this. Who's in 5th?
I think Vision Strikers, once you bring up the evidence as well of the fact that they just fell flat against in terms of their adaptability at times, I don't know. I feel like Ascend, they've been working on their issue. We at least have footage to be like, okay, Ascend's working on their confidence issues, working on some of the problems they've had previously. And I feel like Ascend is still relatively adaptable. And they also had, like, arguably, they had a really poor performance from one player in particular. I believe it was Bone Cold.
Bone Cold had a really rough performance. Yeah.
So I have more belief currently in Ascend because I feel like Vision Strikers has not they've shown me they have moments of they have really strong moments of brilliance, but they also, if they're faced against something that they're not prepped for, or or something that they're like, okay, we're gonna do this, it seems like they're too inflexible to fix some of their mistakes mid game.
No, I disagree with that. I think that Vision Strikers. I think that Vision Strikers showed. Yeah, maybe inflexible in terms of their overall game plan, but I still think in the moments they were fine. I think that was one of the things that impressed me the most was how cohesive they were when shit hit the fan, right? And I think that Buzz showed enough to me that I honestly think that he could have like a breakout Nats level type of performance where everybody's just like, holy fuck, like this guy is the real deal. Because when he played against Gambit, he was still like fragging very well, and it wasn't necessarily that he was getting all the support possible from his teammates or anything like that. It's not like they were throwing everything at that. He was first blooding a lot against them. His op was really on point, and then on top of that, they have all that Vision Strikers, that Korea flair. That they to me like, here's the problem. Vision Strikers, and this is no pun intended, they have a vision. Ascend has no fucking vision. They have no clue. Like in some instances, I'm just like, what are you guys doing? You guys are just like literally walking. You guys are calling pug strats, like straight up. In Berlin and in Red Bull on certain maps, I'm just like, you guys are just you're seeing an idea, right? This guy is playing it, and this is great to call in this fashion. I think this is why a lot of NA teams are good. You see an idea, you see a gap. Let's try to exploit this. The problem with Ascend is they go for that, and if it doesn't work, and this is what happened against Vision Strikers, and if that initial idea doesn't work, they don't know what to do after that. And they also they rely so much on individual skill to get them out of those situations, and not the cohesive, Sentinels-esque type stuff where they're trading very well. It's like, oh shit, this is happening. CNET hits a crazy flick shot. Starkso gets a crazy flash and gets two, like that sort of thing through a smoke. I don't know. Those types of ideas are the things that happen for Ascend over and over. And that's why I just don't have confidence. I don't.
Well,
I'm okay with Vision Strikers at 5th, by the way. Yeah, I am okay with that. So
we're split.
I'm fine with putting
we're split 2 and 2, and I think this is essentially a draw from our panel. But I want to put Vision Strikers in 5th just to make the NA fans mauled and the Korean fans happy, just because we need to throw them a bone every now and then. That obviously puts Ascend into 6th, and I think. Yeah. Barring any objections, that does put Cloud9 into 7th. And I think Cloud9 are also a dark horse to maybe even win the fucking thing. If they... No, I'm not saying they have a good chance. But I'm saying if I wanted to pick a dark horse that would have outrageous odds to win the event and have some chance of doing it, I'd go with C9 and just feed Leaf and Zeppa with the good shit beforehand. You feed them that and coconut milk and the nutrient drinks and other stuff. What? And hope they go crazy.
Okay. I mean, I see what you're saying, though.
Is there any disagreement for Cloud9 in 7th? Is there any other team that you'd have over the top of them? In some sense, I do think the North American fans are actually going to be pissed that we're not rating them that high, because you see the team that comes out of EU LCQ is in 2nd, and the team that comes out of NA LCQ is in 7th. But there is more to it. There's more to do with the game plan and the meta and the other tournament that they just played in as well, the Red Bull tournament. Who would you have in 8th? We've got 8th, 9th, 10th. I want us to nominate and go through this relatively quickly, because we are like, we've already spent 40 minutes on this.
Yeah, I mean, in 8th, I'll say Keyed, and then you guys can say no, and then we'll put full sense there.
Yeah.
Can we bring it back up, Kurt? Yeah. Can we take a look at the power rankings again?
Bring it up, and let's put, let's see, for 8th, I think the
8th place teams are certainly either like Full Sense, Vivo Keyed, Crew, Fnatic, Furia. It's like those kind of teams, right?
Yep.
I mean, maybe not even Furia, actually.
I wouldn't put Furia on this list.
I think I'd put Full Sense over...
Full Sense over Fnatic.
I mean, but this is an issue of like, when the fuck have we seen Fnatic last, right?
Bad in the Red Bull.
Yeah, they looked rough
real
in the
quick.
Red Bull. Like, at least Full Sense has shown, like, so, I mean, like, I don't know. I mean...
No, I think it's reasonable. I'm just asking. I'm just posing the question.
The only reason I'm not putting Fnatic there is simply because this team could literally be anything. It could hop out of the fucking time portal, and it could be peak Fnatic once again doing crazy shit in Haven mid, or it could be just it just could be bad, like Red Bull.
I definitely think it's going to trend more towards the bad as well. I think it's some true Fnatic copium thinking that they're going to get back to form when they've not been able to do it at all since Reykjavik.
All right, well, number 9, I'm going to say Keyed, and then you guys can say, no, let's put Fnatic there.
You know, I would be on board with Vivo Keyed if we'd ever seen MW play Sova before. If we'd ever seen him play Sova before, literally ever, and he had looked at all good, I'd be fine with Vivo Keyed, but I'm not.
Fine. And number 10, I'm going to say Keed, and you guys are going to say, no, let's put Crew there.
Yep.
I would say Fnatic Vivo Keed for the final 2 spots. I'm willing to take a punt on Keed. I think Crew might be the safer option, but I'm willing to take a punt. Crew lovers gobble my cock.
Are we ranking past this? Yeah.
No, I don't think so. 16? Well, because we've already taken 40 minutes on it. I mean, we
could do it with a swiftness.
I think it'll be fairly quick, so we can do it if we absolutely bang it out. Do you agree with the top 10 though? Vivo Keed, Crew. What's the vote?
I don't trust Brazil, but
they've hurt you. They've hurt you.
They've hurt me many times, so many times. But fuck it. I will allow it this one time. I'm going to allow it a final time. If Brazil burns me here at Champs, if they burn me here at Champs, I want Brazil stricken from the record from the show. I won't
I'm telling you. This is the time where the Brazilian hopium finally pays off.
Right. So we would have Crew.
This is when it pays off.
We would have Crew next. Then who? Furia? Maybe? Because at that point, I mean,
I might
you're
say
down
Crazy
into...
Raccoon.
Nah, Furia.
Bro, I don't even know.
Furia, Crazy Raccoon's Viking.
I would put Crazy Raccoon next then.
I mean, Crazy Raccoon did beat Havan Liberty, right? And Havan Liberty were literally better than Furia at the time.
I have some faith in the experience of Crazy Raccoon, honestly, and their ability to beat some of the other lower tier teams at these tournaments.
I also have.
And I'm not overly impressed with Furia, or I don't know what Vikings have been doing. I mean, I know what they haven't been changing any teammates. I don't know if they're the same roster. People in my Twitch chat, delusional Crew fan, is just telling me every day about how GTN is dropping 30 in scrims on Jett now. I don't care. I don't think Vikings are going to be doing well.
I'd put Crazy Raccoon over Furia. Legitimately, I just don't trust Brazil to show up at all. I literally just don't trust them.
I trust Vivo Key, and that's it.
But it's fine.
All right. Okay. Well,
there it is.
On the balance of everyone's votes, Crazy Raccoon goes over the top of Furia.
Yep.
I don't even know where to rank the final teams. I mean, we haven't seen X10 literally with Padipan since Reykjavik. Didn't they play in like a troll tournament or something? And then that was it. Should they be better than Secret? I don't fucking know. It just seems like a mess down at the bottom.
Apparently, I don't know. Secret have been doing poorly, evidently.
We didn't see him at Berlin. I mean, we have no...
like in the region, they've been doing poorly.
Also, we don't even know what X10's form is going to be, because there's the rumors that theoretically Padipan could come back to Overwatch. So, like, there's literally like, who the fuck? What game has he been playing, man? Like, I don't even know. Like, what's been going on with that?
Balla, you're the one that was wanting to rank the teams down to 16. What would your personal ranking be? And then we'll close the segment.
I'd have X10, then Secret.
No, I mean of the teams, because you said you'd have Furia over Crazy Raccoon.
Oh yeah, Furia, Crazy Raccoon, Vikings, X10, Secret.
Okay, all right.
Reasonable.
Okay, pretty reasonable.
Fair and reasonable.
Decent kind of place that we had those. I think it's an absolute crapshoot down there, but I'm very excited for the top 5. Top 7 teams, actually, I'm pretty excited about.
Yeah.
Should be a banger of a tournament, actually. And then take your screenshots, because we will not agree with this if you ask us, even if you ask ourselves a week from now, we won't agree with this.
I don't agree with it now.
I can already tell you, I put Crew over Vivo Keed currently. I already tell you.
I'll tell you right now, I would put Vivo Key way higher, but it's fine.
A compromise where everyone's angry. Perfect. Wyatt's Weekly Award is the next segment coming up. It's our most important of the week.
Okay.
So let's get into it.
Okay. It's Wyatt's Weekly Award. There it is. And there's only one person.
You're so small.
There's only one person who could get it this week. You know who that is?
Nope.
It's you, Josh. For making it to Immortal.
For making it to Immortal?
Yep.
Fucking A! That's what I want. I've never won an award before. Thank you.
Yep.
Oh.
It's been well earned.
Withstanding our troll.
God.
Hard fought.
And I get the cuddling trophy as well.
There he is. Look at him go. Wow. Look at him go. Right on the way to Immortal.
This I think was...
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the current status of Immortal in Valorant.
You know, the bad part is that was in a Plat game as well, because it was me on my ult playing with Bren. And I played Jett, because I'd never play Jett normally.
There are more, by the way, Kurt.
Can't play Jett. I can't play Jett.
Keep
what else
keep
have
the
you got?
clips
So this
rolling.
wasn't really a
No,
Be
it
Nice
is an
to
award.
Sideshow
No, you made it
award.
you made it to Immortal, and you deserve the award.
This is a Plat Chat Clips in disguise.
No,
this is a
it
Plat Chat
isn't.
Clips in disguise.
No, it's. I mean,
Okay, this
these
isn't
are
me, by the way. This is me watching my Brimstone fail a lineup.
Yeah, that shit was so funny. I mean, again, how is the what rank is this? This is Immortal?
Yes, that Brim was an Immortal or a Diamond 3
Oh,
player.
this is good.
I got robbed on all of those, by the way. I slowed that down to 0.25, and that actually was me getting robbed.
It does look like you hit that guy.
Dude, look at this. Zoom, please enhance, Kurt.
Yeah.
Look at this. Look at this. Look at my crosshair. Okay, I'm waiting. Where is he?
Waiting.
Where is he?
Yep.
Waiting.
Perfectly on him.
Ooh, that was good.
Perfectly on him again. Perfectly on him again. You know what it said afterwards? Zero. Didn't hit him once, apparently.
Damage.
Didn't hit him once.
Troll.
At worst case, that's 3 body shots. Worst. I got robbed.
And then we have the moment where you finally hit Immortal, the triumphant moment.
Oh, Wonderbar.
He's
When is it actually
finally
revealed?
done it.
Oh, that was. Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's not that.
I played.
99.
Okay, so
99 after a 40-round Icebox
yeah, I
game.
played a game of Icebox. I thought it was my rank up game. We won 21-19,
Oh
and I
my
got.
God.
I got. Yeah, it's like a perfectly cut screen. Yeah, I got to 99. I did actually. That was when that wasn't the first time I got Immortal though. I got Immortal. I lost it by playing with Bren, and then I got it back again.
Right.
So we're here to stay now. We're here to stay.
But you've fucking done it, so you've got the award.
I have. Thank
Welcome,
you.
welcome.
I appreciate this
Congrats.
award. Thank you.
Yep.
I'm going to carry it around with me all night. I'm going to drink out of it. Actually, it's not a real chalice, so I can't do that. But that does it for episode 67 then. Your boys won the award. That's all I care about. Head into the Esports Awards this week, but I've already won my fill, so don't give a fuck anymore. Didn't even have to wear a tux. Okay, we'll see you next week where we'll do, hopefully, some group stage reviews if they've pulled their thumb out their ass and actually released the groups. If there even are any groups, maybe it's randomly seeded.
Next week, I believe, is going to be, I think, the week where we do all of our top 20 players.
Top 20 players of Berlin.
Except for you, because you get to make fun of us.
Yep. And I'm going to make fun of everybody else.
Are you going to make one too, just for posterity?
No,
No.
I'm going to laugh at all of yours. Okay, and we'll catch you next week then for all of that excellent content. We'll see you. Bye.